It all starts with Magpie, our determined main character. She's got one dream, just one, and that's to create a miracle and become a knight capable of wiping out every single demon. Sounds ambitious, right? Well, today's the day her dream starts to come true. Out of nowhere, one of the oldest demons appears before her. But it's not what you'd expect. It shows up as a strange, twisted tree. And this tree asks her a question. Does she really want to achieve her miracle? The dream of annihilating all demons? Of course, Magpie doesn't hesitate. She says yes. But the tree warns her. Dreams come with a price. A flaming price, to be exact. Magpie doesn't back down. She agrees, determined to gain the power she needs. In return, the demon grants her the power of the red flame. But then, he drops the bombshell. Flames need firewood, and this flame will burn through everything, even its owner. Before she can process it, the red flame engulfs Magpie, wrapping around her like a living inferno. What she doesn't realize, though, is that the price she's paying isn't just pain. It's her lifespan. This power is literally burning her life away. But Magpie? She doesn't flinch. She endures the searing pain, declaring that she's willing to pay any price. Why? Because demons took everything from her, her family, her friends. And if this flame can help her wipe them out, then so be it. Devils, immortal, ageless beings who see humans as nothing more than insects. One of these demons, the ragdoll demon Gideon, crossed paths with a terrified child who tried to run away. Gideon caught him, mocking his cries for help. But then, Magpie showed up, carrying her long axe, and ordered Gideon to let the child go. Gideon sneered and tossed the child to the ground before attacking Magpie. She dodged his attack and countered with a powerful swing of her axe. But Gideon blocked it and sent her crashing to the ground. Just as he was about to finish her off, a blur of lightning speed arrived. It was Magpie's sister, Mary. Without hesitation, she beheaded Gideon in one clean strike. Gideon wasn't done, though. Furious, he demanded to know who Mary was. Calm and composed, she introduced herself, Suit Knight Mary Christie Taylor, a knight whose mission was to destroy him. When Gideon lunged at her, Mary unleashed her special move, Daybreak, and shattered him into pieces. Humans, once seen as powerless against devils, stood a chance with miracles. Those who harnessed this power became knights. But even victory couldn't silence the tension between Magpie and Mary. Mary was furious. Her sister had recklessly charged into battle again. Magpie, frustrated and defeated, confessed she wanted to give up searching for a miracle. It had been 9 long years of endless battles, and all she'd done was drag her sister into more trouble. She didn't believe miracles were meant for someone like her. That night, the news highlighted Mary's heroic actions, hailing her as a knight who saved countless lives. But Magpie? She couldn't stop thinking about the deal she'd made with the devil, a deal she now saw as her worst mistake. She'd sold her soul for a miracle, and all it brought her was misery. Angry and hopeless, she kicked over her books on knights and demons, questioning what any of it was worth. That night, Magpie decided to visit Mary with some food as a peace offering. But something felt wrong the moment she stepped inside. Apologizing for her earlier behavior, Magpie was blindsided when Mary attacked her. Mary wasn't herself. She was possessed by a demon, the puppeteer, who was here to avenge Gideon. Puppeteer had twisted the situation into a cruel spectacle. He wanted to create a tragedy, a sister trying to save a knight who had become a demon, only to die by that same knight's hand. It was mockery at its cruelest. Fueled by desperation, Magpie grabbed her axe and charged. But Mary, under the puppeteer's control, overpowered her, severing Magpie's arm and stabbing her through the heart. As Magpie lay dying, a bitter truth settled in her mind. Miracles don't happen to just anyone. And for her, they never came at all. As Magpie stood at death's door, a question echoed in her mind. When did she first dream of becoming a knight? The answer came as her life flashed before her. It all began when the devils took everything from her, her family, her home, leaving her with nothing but her life. That's when she met Mary, a knight who saved her and became her older sister. Mary cared for Magpie and gave her hope. When Magpie turned 10, she declared she would become a knight, no matter what. But Mary warned her, without a miracle, being a knight wasn't possible. Even as a knight herself, Mary admitted she'd come close to death more times than she could count. Still, Mary gave Magpie a red scarf as a gift and told her something Magpie would never forget. Knights don't fight demons for glory or revenge. They protect what's precious. Mary smiled and said, "If you don't have someone precious to protect, I'll protect you, Magpie." From that moment, Mary wasn't just her hero. She was her sister. Now, back in the present, something impossible happened. Magpie, who should have been dead, came back to life. Her severed arm glowed red and reattached itself, good as new. With a single burst of strength, she sent the puppeteer flying out of Mary's apartment. The demon stared in shock. He'd pierced her heart, yet here she was, alive and ready to fight. Magpie's expression darkened, her fear replaced by fiery determination. The puppeteer snarled and pulled out his weapon, a massive pair of scissors. "This ends here," he growled. But Magpie didn't flinch. She summoned her red flame axe, its heat radiating with deadly intensity. The puppeteer lunged, scissors ready to strike. Magpie blocked the attack and swung her axe, its flames reducing his weapon to ashes. But he wasn't done yet. Using his threads, he immobilized her, locking her in place. He laughed, calling the battle far more exciting than the knights he'd killed before. Magpie struggled, but his threads were sewn directly into his nerves. Breaking free seemed impossible. Yet Magpie refused to give up. She pushed forward, even as her skin tore apart under the strain. Her body transformed, fiery wings erupted from her back, and a massive aura of flames surrounded her. In this terrifying new form, Magpie swung her axe, engulfing the puppeteer in flames. Even as the fire burned her own body, turning her skin black and filling her lungs with scorching heat, Magpie pressed on. She didn't care about the pain or the cost. Thinking of how he'd killed her with his own hands, she poured everything into the fight. The puppeteer, believing his immortality would save him, was proven wrong. With one final swing of her axe, Magpie delivered a devastating blow that burned him to ashes. The fight was over. Magpie, though battered and burned, had overcome the impossible and proved that miracles are made through sheer will and sacrifice. The next morning, Mary woke up, her memories rushing back like a nightmare. She remembered everything: Magpie's death, the flames surrounding her sister, and the pain of losing her. But then, there Magpie was, standing right in front of her, alive. Mary was in shock. She noticed Magpie's severed arm had regenerated, but it wasn't human. It looked like a devil's hand. Mary hesitated, asking, "What are you?" But as the realization hit her, she knew the person in front of her was still her sister. Without a second thought, she hugged Magpie tightly and promised, "I'll make things right for you, no matter what." Now, let's jump over to the Holy Land, to the Grand Cathedral where the elite military force, Meridian, was holding a round-table meeting. These were the 12 knights, the best of the best, but only 8 of them had shown up. Tensions were high. The Devil of Ash had been relentlessly attacking the border, launching 5 devastating assaults. Some knights wanted to maintain their defenses and conserve their strength, while others argued they needed to act. The debate got heated when someone brought up the lack of new knights to bolster their ranks. The captain of knights cut through the noise. He explained that when a devil consumes someone with a miracle, they become even more powerful. He refused to sacrifice people who didn't meet their standards just to delay the inevitable. But the conversation shifted when the captain mentioned Magpie. "She's already killed the puppeteer demon," he said. "She's gained her miracle. We need to appoint her as a knight before it's too late." Back to Mary and Magpie. Mary received a message from the cathedral, instructing her to bring Magpie back immediately. But Mary was torn. She didn't know what was happening to her sister or what the miracle had done to her. So, she decided to lie. She'd report Magpie as missing until she could figure things out. As Mary started the car, something strange happened. Time froze around Magpie. Everything stopped, and an old man approached her out of nowhere. He looked at her with piercing eyes and asked, "Why aren't you killing devils with your flame? Isn't that your dream?" His voice grew sharper as he leaned in closer. Or have you forgotten your dream? He was the devil she'd made the deal with, the one who appeared as a tree. Magpie didn't recognize the old man at first, but the moment she tried to attack him, he froze her in place. He wasn't here to fight, he explained. No, he was here to remind her of the contract she made, the fire she wielded. It was the miracle she'd wanted, the one she dreamed of. The fire, known as the torch, was the only power capable of killing demons. He told her something chilling. She wasn't the one in control. The fire consumed everything, even its owner. He reminded her, "You're just firewood. A handful of ashes is all that's left for you." Magpie demanded to know what he wanted from her. The devil's answer was simple: kill the demons. Use them as fuel for the fire. Then, he told her to look at her hand. Written on her palm were numbers, 982 days. Her lifespan. The devil explained that every day the sun set, her life ticked down. But every demon she killed would add to those days. Furious, Magpie realized she had less than 3 years left, and the clock was ticking fast. He warned her that killing random demons on the streets would only add a few days. To truly extend her life, she had to go after the strongest demons. 10 years of life would be easy if she did that. But then came the real kicker. If she transformed back into the powerful form she had when she saved her sister, it would burn off half the time she had left. Magpie, enraged, got up close and called him a liar. But before she could retaliate, the devil left her with one last piece of advice: stop smoking. Magpie, filled with anger and determination, decided it was time to return to the Holy Land with Mary and officially become a knight. Fast forward almost a year, and Magpie had risen in the ranks. She was now a knight of the White Knight Order. But she didn't have time to relax. A demon called Anglerish had risen, burning everything in his path. When he grabbed a human to feast on, Magpie intervened and saved the man. Anglerish, in agony from Magpie's flames, revealed his true form and attacked with a devastating water surge. Magpie took the hit head-on, but her flame healed her instantly. She swung her axe, unleashing a firestorm that turned the demon to ashes. The news buzzed with stories about Magpie, the Knight of the Torch, the one whose flames could destroy demons. People cheered for her, but Magpie didn't have the luxury of celebration. Her life was still on the line. Meanwhile, Damon, a demon in the appearance of a human, watched her fight from a distance. Damon was terrified. He knew Magpie's flame could end him, but what neither he nor his human friend realized was that she had noticed them watching. All right, let's dive into how Magpie became a knight. So, Mary took Magpie to the Round Table Conference, where the Grand Master of Order of White, one of the 12 strongest knights, made Magpie a knight. It was a big moment, and the Grand Master said something that stuck with Magpie. "Behold, you who hold hands together, correct past mistakes, live truthfully in the present, and raise your head proudly in the future." Then, she turned to Magpie and added, "Keep your head down and be polite. Your qualifications and achievements are enough. From this moment on, you're a knight." As part of the ceremony, Magpie had to swear an oath. She promised to fight for the innocent and the weak. After that, Magpie and Mary went hunting demons together. But Magpie always had one thing on her mind: her lifespan. It was always ticking away, day by day. The Grand Master had also told Magpie something important. As a knight, you are the watchdog among the sheep. Patience and self-control are your walking stick. Humility and courage will guide you like a compass. Be like the shepherd who leads, and your people will walk happily even in the dark. But here's the twist: Magpie was immortal. During one fight against an octopus demon, it blew her head off, but she didn't die. Instead, she was filled with rage, and with fury, she defeated the demon. The Grand Master words echoed in her head: if you have claws and fangs, you always have to love justice. Hold the sword of mercy, and remember, you are a lamp that lights up the world by burning itself. Fast forward to the present, Magpie and Mary decided to hit the bar for a drink. But Magpie had more on her mind than just having fun. She was deep in thought, thinking about her life since becoming a knight. She had been hunting demons nonstop for the past year, but for every demon she killed, She only gained a day or two more to live. She hadn't told Mary about the countdown on her life, but Mary, being sharp as always, suspected something was up. She asked Magpie, "If you don't kill a demon, will you turn into a monster? Or are you hearing voices telling you to hunt them down?" The whole town was buzzing because Magpie had wiped out every demon in the area in almost no time at all. Meanwhile, at the same bar, Damon and his friends were celebrating. Damon wasn't too thrilled that Magpie and Mary were there, but his friends stated, "Who cares? Let's toast to our strongest mercenary, the Firebird." Magpie, still lost in her thoughts, had a special gift. She could spot demons just by looking into their eyes. Unlike most knights who could tell by gestures or speech, Magpie knew instantly. And that's why she chose this bar. She was following Damon, knowing full well that he was a demon hiding in plain sight. The next day, Magpie was tailing Damon, determined to expose his true nature as a demon. She wanted to shatter the mask he was hiding behind. But for 3 whole hours, Damon did nothing suspicious. He was just helping people out, carrying things here and there like any ordinary person. Then, out of nowhere, a little boy fell into the water. And guess what? No one moved to help him. Not a single person. That's when Damon revealed his demon form and rushed to save the boy. This left Magpie puzzled. She thought about all the demons she'd fought before and started wondering, what if Damon wasn't a pure demon? Seeing his true form, Magpie decided to confront him. She ambushed him and demanded answers. Damon, calm but firm, told her he hadn't done anything wrong. He even asked her to stop attacking because he can't die just yet. Then she hit him with a direct question. "Why did you save that little boy earlier?" Damon's response? He said, "Because no one else stepped up. They're humans, but none of them acted, so I had to." That left Magpie even more confused. How could a demon be helping humans? That's when Damon revealed something shocking. He told Magpie that the mercenary known as Firebird already knew he was a demon. Firebird had saved him when he was badly injured, and even taught him how to blend in with humans. Damon admitted that he owed Firebird a huge debt and that he'd never hurt a human in his life. He pleaded with Magpie to let him live. Magpie, still wary, agreed, for now. She warned him, "I'm going to talk to Firebird about this. If you're lying, I'll make sure you regret it." Later that night, Damon met up with Firebird and told him everything. He admitted to being caught by the knight. Firebird reassured him, saying it wasn't his fault and that saving the boy was the right thing to do. Then Firebird dropped a bombshell. "This is farewell, for now. My team and I are in danger." He also gave Damon a heads up, joking, "You know knights lose their minds if you tell them you're a demon. Do you think they'd listen to someone like me?" Damon, curious, asked Firebird why he, a mercenary, helped a demon like him. And here's the twist. Firebird isn't human either. But he didn't spill that secret. Instead, he said, "You're in a tough spot, Damon. And when humans see someone struggling, they can't just walk away." Damon then asked, "Can I not walk away when I see you struggling?" Firebird replied, "Of course, that time will come one day," which made Damon happy. That night, Magpie couldn't sleep. Memories kept flooding her mind. She remembered asking her sister, Mary, if all demons were really bad. Mary, still a new knight, told her she wasn't sure. "Not even all humans are good," Mary said. When Magpie asked if she'd ever seen a demon that wasn't bad, Mary paused. "I met one who seemed to want to be different," she admitted. Then she gave Magpie a piece of advice. "Don't just believe in what's written in some book. Trust your own eyes." As time went on, Magpie thought she'd start to understand demons better. But even after becoming a knight, her experiences painted a clear picture. Demons were nothing but monsters. They were selfish, dangerous, and cruel, creatures that took everything away just to survive. No matter how much they tried to act like humans, there was always a line they couldn't cross. But that thought brought a chill to her. If she were right about demons, then what about herself? Did she seem more like a human or a demon? Unable to shake the question, she stepped outside to clear her head. Meanwhile, Firebird had prepared an escape route for Damon. The captain of the crew thanked Damon for everything he'd done, but fear got the better of them. Someone whispered that Damon was a demon, and without a second thought, the crew turned on him. They opened fire, bullets tearing through him until he collapsed. When it seemed Damon was dead, the captain apologized, trembling. "We were scared of the knights, just like you. Citizens aren't allowed to protect demons." As Damon lay there, fading in and out, memories of his past flashed before him. He remembered saving a little boy and the joy on that child's face. Then he remembered Magpie's eyes filled with anger as she yelled at him, asking why he pretended to be human. But Damon wasn't dead. Slowly, he rose to his feet. If they wanted to see a real demon, he would show them. One by one, he took down the captain and his crew, leaving no doubt about what he was capable of. Magpie arrived at the scene, horrified by the destruction. She locked eyes with Damon and reminded him of what she'd said before. Her axe was ready. Magpie swung her flaming axe, aiming straight for Damon's head. But to her surprise, he dodged just in time. Instead of fighting back, he turned to run. Furious, Magpie shouted, telling him not to run so she could finish him and his two friends who were with him. Hearing that his friends were in danger, Damon froze. Then, in a flash, he turned and attacked, stabbing her. But the fire within Magpie healed her instantly, and she countered with another strike. Damon, desperate to survive, managed to cut her axe, but it wasn't enough. The flames started closing in around him. As the fire grew, Damon remembered Hyung, the firebird. He had always wanted to be like him, someone strong and fearless. His thoughts turned into a roar as he let out a scream that echoed through the chaos. In an instant, Damon transformed. He lunged at Magpie with incredible speed, heavily injuring her and sending her crashing through several buildings. Mary arrived just in time to see her sister's battered body hit the ground. Injured but still alive, Magpie struggled to move. Then the Firebird himself appeared, his presence commanding the scene. He stood there, waiting for Mary, the suit knight. He tried to talk his way out of the situation, claiming that the ones who had used the torch, the villagers, knights, and demons, had all been deceived by the demons. It was an obvious ploy to avoid punishment, but Mary wasn't buying it. She wasn't stupid. She drew her blade and spoke firmly, declaring that the duty of the knights was clear: to exterminate the demon and deliver judgment. The Firebird only smiled, a sly grin spreading across his face. "And do you really think you can do that?" he asked. Mary knew he wasn't human. She had just been hiding it. Firebird stood there with his sly grin, explaining how even he and his crew were deceived by Damon. "He looks and acts just like a human," he said mockingly, his words dripping with sarcasm. Then he turned his attention to Mary, smirking as he called her sword nothing more than a knife. "Are you really pointing that at such a good person?" he sneered. He didn't stop there. He mocked the knights, saying, "Infamous knights like you can barely use miracles against demons. And your torch knight companion? Dead." Mary wasn't having it. She fired right back, her voice cold and sharp. "If you're done talking trash, draw your knife already," she snapped. "I don't waste time with garbage like you." Meanwhile, Damon was spiraling into a rampage, lost in his memories. He thought back to his friend Sato, the one who taught him how to read and write. Sato had been firm but kind, refusing to give Damon meat until he learned his lessons. Even during meals, Sato made it a teaching moment. Sato asked Firebird why they even bothered looking after a demon when it put their lives at risk. If the knights found out, they'd all be killed. Firebird's answer was chilling. "Damon is the devil of luck. That's why we need him." Damon's thoughts wandered further. He remembered sitting with Sato, eating good food and playing video games. One night, Sato had asked if Damon ever slept. Damon replied that he didn't need to. He had once slept so long that he couldn't even remember it. Curious, Damon asked Sato if he saw things when he slept. Sato, deep in thought, admitted that he used to be like Damon, restless and driven. He'd left home to become a mercenary, learning to fight and survive because he didn't want to die poor. A brother had taken him in when he was young, and Sato had repaid that kindness by doing chores. "Still," he added, "sometimes I see things in my dreams. A few weeks before I met you, I got a friend." Hearing this, Damon had smiled and said, "I think I'll sleep tonight." But that night took a dark turn. Sato met with Firebird, who informed him that the knights had arrived. Firebird and Sato were mercenaries, demon hunters who moderately killed demons, sold them to the knights, and got paid. Firebird explained the grim reality. Demons don't die easily. Most are stupid, he said. They'll keep crawling if you lend them a hand. That's why the villagers had sent the guardian bird, Firebird himself, for help. But when Magpie's flames burned the demon Anglerish to ashes, the mercenaries' work in the village was done. They weren't needed anymore. Except, they had one last card to play, Damon. The plan was simple: make Damon face the knights. All they had to do was make him feel comfortable, build his trust. Firebird saw Damon as a tool, but Sato didn't. To him, Damon was a friend. That's when Firebird made his move. In a cold betrayal, he slit Sato's throat, leaving him to die slowly. Firebird believed Damon is the devil of luck, despised stupidity, and Sato's compassion was, in his eyes, a fatal flaw. His last words to Sato were cruel: "In your next life, I hope you're smarter." But Firebird made one mistake, giving Sato a slow death. That error would come back to haunt him. Back in the present, Mary stood face to face with Firebird. He silently congratulated himself for erasing all evidence of his involvement. But even if Mary figured out the truth, it didn't matter to him. "I'll kill her anyway," he thought, drawing his molten sword, its heat radiating like a promise of destruction. The battle was about to begin. As Firebird lunged at Mary with his fiery sword, she raised her blade to block the attack. But Firebird wasn't just swinging any weapon. His flames made her sword searing hot with every clash. Her grip tightened despite the heat, but Firebird couldn't resist mocking her. "What a weak miracle," he sneered, his voice dripping with arrogance. Then, he infused his sword with even more fire and hurled it at Mary. She barely managed to block it, her feet sliding slightly but her stance unwavering. Firebird didn't let up. "I've heard about your miracle," he taunted. "They say if you hold something, you can master it. But looking at you now, it smells more like grilled squid. You're just holding molten iron." The mockery didn't stop. Even demons scream when stabbed with a lit knife. If humans can't endure it, that's no surprise. "Using iron as a weapon? You'll never defeat me." Mary stared at him, calm but resolute. "You talk too much," she said, her voice cutting sharper than her blade. "No one's curious about your magic. And judging others' miracles like a child? Pathetic." When she called him a scumbag, Firebird's smug grin twisted into fury. Her unshaken gaze, filled with confidence and purpose, made his anger boil over. He wanted to tear those self-righteous eyes out of her face. Grabbing his sword, Firebird pulled out fiery kunai and dashed forward. His movements were swift and deadly, but Mary was faster. With a precise strike, she shattered his flaming sword and slashed through his arm in one fluid motion. Firebird screamed in agony, clutching the stump where his arm once was. Mary tilted her head, mockingly calm. "What's this?" she said, her tone laced with sarcasm. "I thought we were supposed to kill each other. But here I am, just cutting off your arm." Firebird's rage flared again as he used his flames to superheat Mary's sword, turning it into a glowing, molten red. But Mary didn't flinch. She held her weapon steady, the blistering heat failing to faze her. "Is this your master miracle, too?" Firebird spat, his voice trembling with frustration. Mary's response was calm and steady. "My miracle isn't complicated. It simply lets me make the best use of what I have in my hands. Gripping a burning sword, jumping into fire or water, putting others first even when I'm on the brink of death. It's what I must do because I have to." Firebird growled, "Humans aren't immortal." Mary fixed her gaze on him. "I'm not talking about immortality. I'm saying this: enduring, sacrificing, persevering is the real miracle." Firebird couldn't wrap his head around it. How was Mary holding a molten sword with her bare hands, without even flinching? He panicked, switching tactics to lying his way out. "I was deceived by demons too," he shouted, desperation in his voice. "Knights are allowed to kill, so if you kill someone like me, no one would even care." But Mary wasn't buying it. She cut him off, revealing that she already knew the truth. Firebird wasn't human. His lies kept coming, though. Sato and I are human. Damon's the only demon among us, he insisted. Mary didn't let him finish. She told him she'd met Sato, and Sato had told her everything. Now, let's rewind for a second and talk about why giving Sato a slow death was Firebird's biggest mistake. Even as Sato lay dying, his will to save Damon was unshakable. Despite his injuries, he crawled for minutes until he finally found Mary. He told her everything. Damon wasn't like the other demons. Hearing this, Mary thought of her sister, Magpie. Magpie wasn't human either, but she wasn't evil. Sato's final words were clear. He begged Mary to save his friend Damon from becoming the monster everyone feared. Firebird, stunned, tried to dismiss it all. There's no way a human with a ripped throat could crawl for minutes. You're just making this up, he barked. Mary didn't waver. She looked him dead in the eye and said, Sato made it not because of magic, but because of a miracle. Enraged and desperate, Firebird controlled the tip of his broken sword, aiming to strike Mary from behind. Just when it seemed like he might succeed, Magpie intervened, saving her sister from harm. Firebird froze. He couldn't believe it. The Torch Knight was still alive. And then it hit him. Magpie wasn't human either. But before he could act, it was too late. Magpie unleashed her flames, engulfing Firebird and burning him to ash. After all, he wasn't human, so there was no saving him. With Firebird gone, the only challenge left was Damon, who was still consumed by his berserk rage. Mary wanted to help Magpie, but her sister had a different idea. Why not just kill him like a knight would? Mary refused. She'd made a promise to Sato to save Damon, and she wasn't about to break it. Magpie gave her a nod and headed off, telling Mary not to die. She promised to deal with Damon without killing him. Meanwhile, Damon was still battling Magpie's flames. No matter what he tried, they wouldn't fade. They were her miracle, after all. And in his mind, one thing was clear. He had to kill Magpie. After all, she was going to hurt his friends, and he couldn't let that happen. Damon was desperate. No matter how hard he tried, even if he regenerates his body, Magpie's fire wouldn't fade away. The flames clung to him, relentless, burning hotter if he stayed still. He knew he couldn't close his eyes either because if he did, he'd lose himself completely and become a pure demon. That's when it hit him. This fire was Magpie's doing. If he could kill her, it would finally end. Magpie stood before him, shouting something, but her words were muffled, drowned out by his rage. Without hesitation, Damon unleashed a powerful attack. The force of it sent shards flying, tearing through Magpie's body. But even as her body was riddled with wounds, she didn't falter. Her fire healed her almost instantly. Then, Magpie changed. Wings of flame erupted from her back, and with a single burst, she charged straight at him. It looked like this was the end for Damon. But just as her attack was about to land, something unexpected happened. Damon started crying. Tears streamed down his face as he whispered to himself. He didn't want to forget his friend Sato. He didn't want to lose everything and fully become a demon. Magpie stopped. Instead of finishing him off, she did something no one saw coming. She used her power not to destroy him, but to save him. The flames consuming Damon faded away, and with them, the darkness threatening to take over his soul. As Damon fell, his mind was flooded with questions. Do demons really live forever? They didn't need to eat or have companions. Yet their existence was empty and dull. In their boredom, one demon, which is Damon, suggested a game, fighting to see who was strongest. At first, it was thrilling. The stronger demon triumphed, and the weaker one submitted. Winning became his only purpose, and for a while, it silenced the endless why that haunted him. But humans were different. Humans were fragile, short-lived, and yet they kept fighting. They didn't back down, even when they couldn't win. They replaced each other and kept coming, no matter how often they were defeated. Damon couldn't understand it. Why? His first defeat had shaken him to his core. The pain was unbearable, and the questions returned. To escape it, he tried to shut it all out. Forget the pain, the boredom, and the endless questions. But then the Torch Knight saved him. When he asked why, she gave a simple answer. Sato asked me to. Her response caught him off guard. It was so human. Magpie explained everything to him, and though Damon listened, he couldn't bring himself to care anymore. Yet, one thing made him curious. Why, even though Magpie was a demon, did she become a knight? Magpie introduced her sister, Mary, who had been a knight for 10 years and was also her teacher. She did this to explain she's a human and not demon. But we all know that's not true. Magpie had a request for Damon. She wanted his help to find stronger demons. Her words stunned him. Was she asking him to hang out with them? Magpie laughed and agreed. In return, Damon would learn how to imitate humans from her. And just like that, Damon found himself joining Magpie and Mary's team. Mary, however, wasn't thrilled. She quickly realized that Magpie only wanted to use Damon as a chess piece in her plans. And so, their unusual alliance began. After laying Sato to rest, Damon, Magpie, and Mary set off for their next destination. But something was off. Magpie couldn't sleep again, and her energy was draining fast. Whispers filled her head, telling her she needed more firewood to keep burning. Damon noticed and warned her that they'd encounter plenty of demons where they were headed. When Magpie asked why he'd bring this up out of nowhere, Damon didn't hold back. He told her she smelled like ashes, the same scent he'd noticed when he was burned by flames. She was famished, and they both knew it. Their destination? The northeastern district, home to the largest city in the region. The Nameless City. A bustling place lit up with electric signs, full of activity and alive with chatter. It was a stark contrast to the journey they'd been on. The city's mayor was quickly informed about the arrival of Mary and her sister, the Torch Knight. His servant suggested sending them away, but the mayor refused. Even though the city didn't need knights, he felt their hard work deserved acknowledgement. Besides, he was curious to meet the infamous Torch Knight, Magpie, in person. As they walked through the city, an ad played in the background, boasting about the Nameless City's safety. New encounters, happy families, close friends, and a secure life. All made possible here. With only 2 demon incidents reported annually, we've been ranked the safest city for 10 years in a row. Magpie wasn't buying it. She scolded Damon for dragging them to a city where demons seemed non-existent. But Damon was confident. He'd been here before and knew there were demons lurking beneath the surface. Their walk took them past a peculiar shop that bought and sold emotions and memories. Above it, women lounged in a massive pool, adding to the city's surreal vibe. But the real surprise came from the roof. Sora, a mercenary hired by the mayor to protect the city, spotted them. She jumped from the rooftop and landed right in front of them. Without hesitation, she pointed at Damon and Magpie. "You almost fooled me," Sora said, narrowing her eyes. "But I can tell. You two are demons." While Mary headed off to speak with the mayor, things were about to take a darker turn. She managed to get his permission for the knights to operate freely in the city, but little did she know, the mayor had his own plans. He wanted Magpie's holy flame, the miraculous fire that could conquer any demon. And as it turned out, his loyal servant wasn't human at all. He was a demon, and hunting? Well, that was his specialty. Back on the streets, Sora wasn't done with Damon. Without warning, she splashed him with water and immediately launched a water-slash-attack, teleporting behind him for a surprise strike. But Damon wasn't caught off guard. He blocked it just in time. Impressed, Sora conjured a weapon made entirely of water. She smirked and said, "If you were human, your arm would have been sliced clean off." Magpie stepped in, reminding Sora they were knights on official business and not to interfere. Sora, clearly intrigued, couldn't resist flirting with Magpie, offering to get her anything she wanted. But the fight wasn't over. Sora dashed at Damon again, her water blade spinning as she aimed for another strike. Damon was starting to lose his patience, but before the situation could escalate, Mary returned just in time. She blocked Sora's attack and pulled out the permission slip she got from the mayor, stating his full cooperation with their mission. Sora wasn't convinced. "A demon is a demon," she said firmly. "My job is to slay them." Mary calmly explained that Damon wasn't just a random demon. He was her disciple's disciple. But when Sora looked ready to attack again, Mary made a sharp point. A person wielding a sword while judging others based on appearances is far more dangerous. That hit a nerve. Sora dispelled her water blade, though she warned them. If they caused any trouble, she wouldn't hesitate to fight again. Damon, despite his anger, decided to let it slide for now. To cool things off, Mary treated Damon to his first ever ice cream. His reaction? Pure excitement. It was thrilling and delicious. She also bought him new clothes as a reward for staying calm with Sora. But trouble wasn't far away. The mayor's demonic servant had sent someone to distract them, a kid named Ace. He approached with a sly grin, offering a special service for the hardworking knights, something that could erase every thought in their heads or fill them with ecstasy. Magpie immediately sensed something was off, but she decided to play along. Ace introduced himself as a merchant who dealt in memories and emotions. Magpie and her crew started following Ace down some eerily empty streets. Ace began explaining something that sounded straight out of a sci-fi thriller. Turns out, there's this new tech that can extract memories and emotions. Memories and emotions can be taken out like some weird kind of juice. And get this, you can actually drink those memories or emotions. But most people don't just chug them down as they are. Instead, sellers process them into products, like fancy drinks or even drugs. Ace broke it down further. For every type of emotion or memory, there's always someone out there looking to buy it. Feeling weak? Just grab the memories of an MMA fighter, and you could get stronger. Got dumped? Erase that heartbreaking memory and boom, you're not sad anymore. It sounds tempting, right? Well, Ace wasn't just telling them this for fun. He wanted to buy all of Magpie and her team's memories. But Magpie? She wasn't buying it, literally or figuratively. She called out how ridiculous the whole thing was. Having a fighter's memory doesn't mean your body's gonna magically get stronger, she pointed out. And as for erasing memories, she wasn't impressed. If you erase the memory of getting dumped, you're not gonna learn anything. You'll just end up getting dumped again. Then Magpie cut to the chase. She brought up something that had been bugging her. She'd noticed they were being followed since the park. And sure enough, out of the shadows came a group of humans, all armed with knives. Their eyes were hollow, and their movements screamed one thing: brainwashed. They muttered something about being offered a high price for Magpie and her team. And who was behind this? None other than the mayor's demon servant. Damon wasn't about to waste any time. He grabbed one of the attackers and slammed them into the ground like it was nothing. If you thought he was scary before, this time he wasn't holding back. Remember how he hesitated against Sora earlier? Yeah, not this time. One punch from Damon was enough to crush bones, and before long, he'd taken out the entire group, except for one. The big bad himself. The demon stepped forward, and things got real creepy. Using his powers, he started absorbing the blood and flesh from the fallen attackers, transforming into his true form, the marsh demon, Catacomb. This thing was straight out of a nightmare. And with a twisted grin, Catacomb sneered, "I'll bury you, Magpie, and take your holy flame." Catacomb had absorbed the humans he killed, and their voices started echoing through him. Some of them were crying out for money, while others were desperately searching for their families. It was eerie. Ace stood there, completely stunned. He had no idea the servant he'd been working with was actually a demon. Catacomb, now in his true horrifying form, made Magpie and her team an offer. "Hand over the knight who wields the holy flame. That's Magpie. And I'll let the rest of you leave this city alive." It became clear that Ace had been guiding people straight to the servant, now revealed as Catacomb. But judging by his reaction, Ace probably didn't know the servant was a demon until just moments ago. Catacomb and Ace had a deal. If Ace helped him, his debt will go down significantly. But Catacomb was lying from the beginning, since now he revealed the debt will go in about 20 years. Magpie wasn't about to stand there and listen to any more. She launched a fiery attack at Catacomb, but the flames didn't work. He simply cut off the burning human flesh he'd absorbed and tossed it aside like it was nothing. Then Catacomb countered, striking back. Magpie wasn't going down easily, though. She swung her axe, slicing through the hands he'd manifested, stopping his attack in its tracks. But Catacomb was relentless. He managed to catch Magpie from behind, his monstrous strength crushing her body to death. The scene was brutal. But here's the thing. Magpie is immortal. She can't die. Even as her body recovered, she shouted to her sister, telling her to run and get out of there. Then, with pure determination, Magpie unleashed an explosion of flames so powerful that it reduced Catacomb to nothing but ashes. When the chaos cleared, Ace was still alive. He was trembling, calling out for his mom and dad, like a scared little kid. Magpie walked over to him and, with a cold expression, told him, "I'm not your mom, and it's time for your punishment. You tried to kill a knight." So, here's the recap. Ace, 16 years old, from the nameless city, short and malnourished with those dead eyes that tell you he's been through some rough times. His job? Selling emotions and memories. But life hasn't been kind. He's carrying a huge debt left by his parents, and today, he got himself tangled in something way over his head. Ace had a hand in the attempted murder of Magpie and her team, all because of his own negligence. He didn't know the servant he was working for was actually a marsh demon. But here's the thing. When Ace's usefulness ran out, the demon was ready to throw him away like trash. If it wasn't for Magpie and her crew stepping in, Ace wouldn't have made it out alive. Shaken, Ace begged Magpie for forgiveness. He explained that the demon had promised to wipe out most of his debt, and he didn't realize what he was truly getting into. Magpie, sharp as ever, started piecing everything together. She realized this wasn't just about Catacomb. There were likely multiple demons involved. And the fact that Catacomb knew about Ace's debt? That wasn't random. Someone had been pulling strings, and on top of that, those brainwashed humans? Someone must have used a miracle ability to control them. Magpie dug deeper. She pointed out how Catacomb used the brainwashed humans as tools, disposable resources. This wasn't a one-off incident. It felt like there was a whole group of demons scheming in this city. Then, turning to Ace, Magpie gave him an offer. If he cooperated, they might be able to forgive him. Meanwhile, word of Catacomb's death spread fast. The demons working with him reported back to their boss, the mayor. Now, this isn't just any mayor. This guy's a devil. And not just any devil. He's got the miracle of prophecy, meaning he can see into the future. The mayor revealed his plans to the other demons. He wasn't surprised by Catacomb's failure. He saw it coming. But he also saw a future where he gets the holy flame. In fact, he foresaw Magpie coming straight to him, ready to hand it over herself. Back to Magpie and her team, they decided to rest at a hotel before taking action. That night, Mary filled them in on the nameless city's situation. It's the freest city in the country, and the demons here manage themselves without being under the Grand Cathedral's direct control. At the center of all this chaos, Mayor Legion. Magpie wasn't buying the idea that Legion was clueless about what was happening. In fact, she was sure he was deeply involved. This wasn't an isolated incident. The whole city was a mess, driving people to the brink of madness. She turned to her sister and said, "The way I see it, people who fail to be human are no different from demons. What do you think?" Mary, ever loyal, smiled and agreed, saying, "That's totally your style." After all, Magpie was her student. The next morning, the team headed straight to the mayor's building, which, of course, was covered in gold because why not? Inside, a receptionist told them to wait until the mayor was ready. But Magpie wasn't fooled for a second. She knew this receptionist was a demon. Without missing a beat, she ordered Damon to handle it. And handle it he did. Damon dashed forward and slapped the demon so hard, you could probably hear it echo through that gold-plated building. Magpie and her team had figured it out. Every single one of the mayor's servants was a demon. But before they could act, the mayor clapped his hands and teleported them straight to his floor. He greeted them with a smile, apologizing for any inconvenience, and casually mentioned that he doesn't entertain visitors without prior reservations. Then, with another clap, he transported them directly into his room. The mayor didn't waste time. He revealed that he knew all about the events of the previous night. Cool as ever, he lied, claiming he had nothing to do with it. According to him, Catacomb, one of his subordinates, acted on his own, trying to win favor. He brushed it off, saying that since they killed Catacomb, they were even now. Then the mayor dropped his offer. He wanted Magpie to become his kin. He revealed his real goal, her holy flame. Magpie wasn't having any of it. She warned him not to say her name again, or she'd burn his face off. But the mayor? He wasn't intimidated. He sweetened the deal, saying if she became his kin, she could have whatever she desired. Gold? Endless riches? A man to satisfy her body and soul? He even added that by becoming a full demon, she'd gain eternity, even though she was already immortal. But when he said her name again, Magpie snapped. Her rage boiled over, and she unleashed her flames, aiming to burn him to ash. It didn't work. The mayor made her flames vanish like they were nothing more than smoke. Mary and Damon were ready to fight, but before they could act, the mayor touched Mary, freezing her completely with some strange power. Damon, in a burst of fury, managed to rip off the mayor's head. And just when you thought they had a chance, the mayor's head regenerated instantly. He used yet another miracle, immobilizing Damon and making him fade away into nothingness. This wasn't just any demon they were dealing with. No, the mayor revealed his true identity. He wasn't a demon at all. He was something far more terrifying, a devil. Introducing himself as Legion, the devil of life, he calmly explained that he could use multiple miracles. Magpie was lost in thought, reflecting on her journey. After becoming a knight, she hunted down every demon she could find. But over time, it became less about justice and more about survival. See, Magpie's holy fire keeps her alive, but it's also her curse. It burns through her like firewood, causing her constant, excruciating pain. For a brief moment, after slaying powerful demons like the puppeteer demon, that pain would fade. That's why she's obsessed with hunting stronger demons. Maybe one day she'll find the one that sets her free. This path she's walking? It's exactly as an old demon predicted when she made a deal with him. To escape her agony, she needs to go after the strongest demons. One day, Magpie asked her sister Mary how powerful devils really are. Mary, who fought a devil 10 years ago, knew Magpie was growing stronger. She even acknowledged Magpie's immortality and her miracle's power to kill demons. But Mary also understood Magpie's obsession. Left alone by demons, Magpie became a knight to take revenge. Still, Mary warned her, going up against devils alone is a death wish. Now, here's the thing about demons. Their names reflect their miracles. For instance, the sunken demon sinks ships and villages, while the puppeteer demon controls others with threads. The more abstract and unique a demon's name, the stronger they are. The most powerful demons are worshipped and feared, even by their own kind. And these demons? They don't die but can still fear things. Humans and demons alike offer their souls to these powerful demons, becoming their kin by receiving fragments of their miracles. The knights call these beings the demon's kin. Among the demons, devils are the most dangerous, wielding multiple miracles. All knights risk their lives fighting devils, and today, Magpie learned firsthand just how powerful a devil could be. Legion, the devil of life, assured Magpie that her comrades were still alive. He'd simply put them aside to avoid interruptions. Then he dropped a bombshell. He explained how he gained his miracles. Life, he said, is a cycle of obtaining and stealing. By consuming humans, he absorbs everything they have, their memories, emotions, experiences, personalities, and yes, their miracles. Magpie brought up the brainwashed humans from yesterday. Legion admitted it was his doing, but he added, as a respected mayor, he wasn't a thief. He wouldn't take from the poor or the desperate. He shared his story. 10 years ago, during the Night of Uproar, knights defeated a demon king for the first time, causing chaos among the demons. Many demons feared the same fate and stayed hidden. But Legion saw this as a turning point. He believed it was time for demons and humans to coexist. He left his old life behind, settled in a small city, and started sharing his knowledge. The city thrived, but greed soon took over. That's when Legion started his business. He commercialized life. Every person, rich or poor, had something valuable, their life. Legion offered them money or accepted life as collateral, making it clear that it meant death. The result? A symbiotic relationship. Humans got money. Demons fed without killing. Legion then made his offer. Magpie could become his kin. Using his miracle of prophecy, he claimed that in the future, Magpie would hand him her holy flame. Seeing Mary and Damon in their current state, Magpie knew she had no choice. She agreed to trade her holy flame to save her sister and Damon. But Damon, even in his broken state, begged her not to do it, warning that Legion would kill them all once he got what he wanted. Magpie reminded Damon of his duty to follow her orders. But despite everything, Damon refused to accept what he called nonsense. Magpie had a plan, though, and asked Damon to trust her. With that, the deal was sealed. Legion ripped off Magpie's demon-like arm and infused it into himself. In doing so, he claimed the holy flames for himself. So, Legion kept his end of the deal and returned Mary and Damon to normal. He was absolutely thrilled to finally get his hands on Magpie's miracle. Then, without wasting time, he turned to Magpie, ready to transform her into his kin. But Mary? She was furious. She couldn't believe her sister had made a deal with a demon. Even in this tense moment, Magpie smirked and said, "Who told you it wouldn't burn when you used the holy flame with my arm?" And just like that, Legion's arm caught fire. He couldn't control the holy flame at all, and worse, he started feeling the same excruciating pain that Magpie endured every day. Before he could figure out what was happening, his arm exploded in a fiery blast. Magpie and her team didn't waste a second. They used the chaos to escape. Legion's servants wanted to chase after them, but Legion stopped them, saying, "I got what I wanted." He regenerated a new arm, but now he understood the truth. The holy flame wasn't just any miracle. It was a curse for demons. He thought he could use Magpie's arm to his advantage, but just like its owner, the flame refused to obey him. Legion decided he needed time to figure out how to control the arm. So he left his office, leaving Magpie and her team with a narrow window of freedom. Now here's the twist, folks. This whole situation, it was all part of Magpie's plan. Let's rewind a bit to see what went down the day before. Yesterday, Magpie had a conversation with Ace. She made him an offer. If she killed the demon, would his debt be erased? Ace told her it wouldn't, but Magpie didn't care. She declared that from now on, she would be the one to get paid for his debt. And she didn't stop there. She warned him that if he tried to run away or scam people for money, she'd kill him herself. Mary, of course, was confused. What was Magpie thinking? Ace begged her to lower the amount, but Magpie shut him down instantly. She asked, "Are you really in a position to negotiate with me?" Back to the present day. Ace had been working tirelessly, yet his payment was still painfully small. He realized that even if he worked for 20 years straight, he'd never be able to pay off the amount Magpie demanded. To make things worse, his parents, whose emotions and memories had been stolen, were also working endlessly. If things continued like this, his parents wouldn't survive much longer. Ace had made a promise to save them, no matter what it took. But Magpie wasn't done. After escaping Legion, she started tailing Ace from a distance. Ace kept walking, his mind racing, trying to figure out a way to pay off his debt. Then he spotted a jewelry store. Without an ID card, he decided the only option left was to steal, planning to vanish from the city after repaying what he owed. But just as he was working up the nerve, two men showed up. They cornered Ace, demanding money he owed them from last week. One of them wanted to teach him a lesson, so he wouldn't even think about running away next time. Before they could lay a finger on him, Magpie appeared out of nowhere, kicking one of the men to the ground. The other guy thought about jumping in, but froze the moment Magpie gave him a death stare. He backed off immediately. He wasn't about to mess with her. With that, Magpie and Ace returned to the hotel. While Magpie was calmly making coffee, Ace couldn't hold back anymore. He told her he's been working every single day, earning his money the honest way, just to pay her back. But Magpie didn't even acknowledge his words. Frustrated, Ace lashed out, blaming the Knights. He said all they cared about were demons, while people like him were left to suffer. He accused her of living a fancy life while he and his family were drowning in misery. Then he opened up about his parents, how they sold their emotions and memories, and now they can't feel pain or fatigue. They're forced to work every single day, barely managing to pay the interest on their debt. His voice grew louder as he shouted, saying he had no choice but to live like this. That's when Magpie snapped. She slapped him, silencing his rant. Do you think that's a valid excuse? She asked coldly. Just because life is hard, does that give you the right to scam others? She continued, reminding him that if his parents could see what he was doing now, they'd probably tell him to give up on them. Then, in a calm but firm voice, she said, "You're the one who chose to live like this, Ace." Ace couldn't hold back his tears anymore. He sat there, crying silently while sipping the coffee Magpie had made. But Magpie wasn't done. She told him to stop crying and assured him, "In the next 48 hours, I'll kill the devil who took your parents." Mary gave the team a heads up. She's already called for reinforcements from the Knights. They'll arrive in about 48 hours, which means tomorrow morning. Until then, their mission is clear. Keep the devil under control. Now here's where things get interesting. Instead of gearing up or strategizing, Magpie decides to take Ace on a chill day out. First stop? A fast food joint. They stuffed their faces, and then it was off to the cinema to catch a movie. After that, an internet cafe. Ace was completely lost. Magpie, on the other hand, was busy gaming, trash-talking her opponent like a pro. Ace finally snapped. "Don't you have a plan to fight the devil? All we've done is eat, watch movies, and play games." Magpie didn't even flinch. "Shut up," she said casually. "You're not the one fighting, so quit whining." She leaned in closer to the screen. "Now stop distracting me. It'd be embarrassing to lose after all the trash-talking I've done." Ace just stood there, stunned. What kind of preparation was this? Meanwhile, on Legion's side, things weren't looking so smooth. The holy flame was wreaking havoc on him. The pain was unbearable, and his attempts to control it weren't working. One of his servants tried to offer advice, suggesting that maybe taking the holy flame was a mistake. Big mistake. Legion ordered the servant to come closer. The moment he did, Legion stabbed him and burned him alive. But something unexpected happened. Killing seemed to ease the pain, even if just a little. It gave Legion hope that he'd eventually master the holy flame. Back at the cafe, Magpie was on fire, figuratively, of course. She dominated her opponent in the game, trash-talked them until they rage quit, and celebrated her victory like it was the greatest achievement of the day. Then, just like that, it was go time. With her fun day out behind her, Magpie revealed her real plan. Take down the devil before the Knights arrived. Magpie and her team entered Legion's lair, ready to confront the demon himself. But guess what? Magpie brought a suitcase with her. Ace, confused as ever, couldn't understand why he was tagging along. Mary reminded him that last time, Magpie saved him from his creditors. If he stayed outside alone, who knows what trouble he'd land in. Before they could go any further, Legion's servants blocked their way. Just then, a powerful demon appeared, speaking on Legion's behalf. She revealed a chilling prophecy. Today, the Knight of the Holy Flame would return. Her job? To deal with that Knight, Magpie, while the rest of the servants handled her team. And that's exactly what happened. Lewis stepped up, wanting to settle his old score with Damon. Meanwhile, Magpie, ever the sarcastic one, mocked the demons, calling them minions and asking if their boss was too busy to show up. Lewis pointed to the suitcase. "What's that for?" Magpie grinned. "It's not polite to visit someone's house empty-handed," she said. "This was super expensive. I had to blow all my savings on it." Before anyone could question her further, Legion used his miracle to split the group up. Magpie was left to face the female demon. Damon got stuck with Lewis, and Mary along Ace were paired with Oscar. Now let's talk about Ace. Panicked, he chugged comfortable sinking memory to calm himself. Bad move, because Oscar used the moment to sneak up behind him and attack. Luckily, Mary acted fast. With one clean slash, she chopped off Oscar's hand. But hold up, Oscar's hand instantly regenerated. And then, things got wild. Oscar transformed into a giant demon cat. He grabbed a cup of coffee, and just like that, it turned huge in his paws. He tried to splash the boiling coffee at Mary and Ace, but Mary wasn't having it. She dashed in, sliced the coffee midair, and unleashed her special move, High Noon. Oscar was split in two. Victory, right? Wrong. Both halves of Oscar came back to life, each with its own personality. They introduced themselves as Oscar, the Desire Demon, Yup, 2 Oscars now, double the trouble. Both Oscars launched their attacks, coming at Mary relentlessly. But Mary? She was too quick, dashing and dodging every hit like a pro. She couldn't figure out how this desire demon had 2 miracles. One that let him multiply every time he was cut, and another to control the size of objects. That's when it hit her. This all made sense. Her master had told her before that the desire miracle grants its user power that multiplies with each division. And since the desire demon is one of the kin of the devil of life, he inherited his ability to wield multiple miracles. Even with both Oscars taunting and attacking her, Mary stayed calm, dodging with precision. One of the Oscars transformed into a massive cat and tried to crush her. Mary didn't panic. Instead, she used her blade with finesse, scraping the surface of his attack. She couldn't risk slashing him. If she did, he'd just multiply again. The other Oscar grabbed an ashtray, made it huge, and hurled it straight at Ace. Mary dashed in, slicing the ashtray mid-flight to save him. But in that moment of distraction, the giant cat Oscar landed a hit on her. Even injured, Mary didn't back down. She quickly regained her footing, refusing to give up. Oscar, sensing an opportunity, sneered at her. He taunted, saying he'd take her to Legion, who'd reward him with another miracle. He mocked her further, telling her to drop her pride and beg for mercy. But Mary wasn't fazed. She smiled confidently and shot back. Only those who care little about their lives can become knights in the first place. Then she mocked him right back. You sure talk a lot about death for someone who's supposed to be immortal. As the giant cat Oscar prepared to strike again, Ace suddenly stepped in. He bowed deeply and addressed the Oscars with a dramatic tone. Supreme Lords of Desire, may I have a word? The Oscars, clearly enjoying the flattery, paused. You've got 10 seconds, they said. Damon was about to start his battle against Lewis. Lewis, with his menacing presence, activated his miracle and issued his command, kill your companion. And just like that, we learn Lewis isn't just any demon. He's the phantom demon. Let's check back in on our boy Ace. Even though he bowed down to the demon of desire, don't let that fool you. Ace might be young, but life has already taught him some harsh lessons. He knows this world is built on debts and favors, and creditors will always hunt you down like predators. For the longest time, Ace couldn't figure out how these creditors always managed to track him down, no matter where he went. But the bigger mystery? Why the faces of his creditors kept changing so often. One day, Ace got his answer. He stumbled upon 2 groups of creditors arguing, each accusing the other of taking more than their fair share. Things escalated fast. One pulled a gun, the other a knife. Blood spilled, screams echoed, and in the end, neither side walked away. That day, Ace saw the true, ugly face of desire. Now, with that insight, Ace had a plan for dealing with the 2 Oscars. Ace asked them, is Legion going to favor his demons? One Oscar immediately replied, of course, it's gonna be me. The other Oscar bristled. What do you mean, you? Legion will favor me, not you. And just like that, they turned on each other. Punches, claws, and chaos flew as the 2 Oscars fought, each desperate to prove they were the favorite. Even Mary stood there stunned, watching Ace manipulate them so easily. The longer they battled, the smaller they became, shrinking without even realizing it. That's when Mary got an idea. She turned to Ace and asked, do you still have that memory drink you used earlier? Ace nodded, pulled out the capsule, and poured its contents over the fighting Oscars. As soon as the liquid touched them, they started slowing down. Sleep overtook them, and before long, the Oscars were out cold, tiny and motionless in the palm of Ace's hand. Without wasting time, he put the Oscars into a bottle and handed it to Mary. Ace shook his head in disbelief, muttering, fools! How did demons who've lived for thousands of years fall for such a simple trick? Mary chuckled and explained, demons may live for thousands, or even billions of years, but most of them don't care about humans. To them, we're like bugs, not worth their attention. But that's their blind spot, she added. It's when they're off guard, dismissing us as nothing, that we strike. As she finished her explanation, a loud crash echoed through the room. The wall in front of them crumbled, and there stood Damon, Relief washed over his face when he saw both Ace and Mary were alive. But something was wrong. Damon began to transform, his body twisting into his demon form. His eyes burned with fury, but it wasn't his own will driving him. Lewis, the phantom demon, was pulling the strings. Damon was no longer in control. Lewis, the phantom demon, has a terrifying miracle. He can invade his enemies' minds and take control of them. The catch? Physical contact is the condition for possession, and since Damon slapped him earlier, that door was already wide open. All Lewis had to do now was take root in Damon's mind. But here's the thing. Damon isn't the type to just roll over and let someone control him. Even as Lewis ordered him around, Damon fought back, resisting the miracle with sheer willpower. Then, in a bold move, Damon destroyed his own arm by blasting a hole in the building. Genius, right? He'd already figured out how Lewis's possession miracle worked. Shared injuries. Lewis smirked, confident as ever, and said, "It's pointless. I can regenerate. The only thing that can truly stop me is the holy flame." Lewis then started diving into Damon's memories, searching for something to exploit. But what he found confused him. Memories of powerless humans achieving impossible feats. Why would those be the highlights of Damon's life? Before Lewis could process it, Damon slammed his own head onto the floor with incredible force, causing massive damage to himself, and by extension, to Lewis. The phantom demon began to grow angry, frustrated that his plan wasn't working as expected. Lewis doubled down, diving deeper into Damon's mind, determined to uncover his greatest fear. And that's when he started crafting illusions. First, an image of Sato, Damon's best friend, appeared. Sato questioned him, "Why did you even befriend me?" "Because of you, I died." Then, another figure emerged, Magpie. She sneered, "You're nothing but a pawn to me, Damon." Lewis's taunts echoed in Damon's mind, mocking him relentlessly. "Your so-called greatest feats? They're pathetic, meaningless." But just as Lewis was basking in his own cruelty, something shifted. His smug confidence shattered as he started shaking, overwhelmed by what he saw next. A giant, nameless demon stood before him, its presence so overwhelming that even Lewis, the phantom demon, froze in fear. Seeing Damon's true form left Lewis completely stunned. He wasn't just shaken, he was terrified. The realization hit him hard. No matter what he did, he couldn't win against the demon standing before him. Damon, calm and composed, told Lewis something chilling. "I've spilled buckets of blood to learn that fighting to see who's stronger is boring. This isn't a fight, it's a challenge." And with that, Damon reduced Lewis to nothing more than a splatter of blood. At that exact moment, Lewis's memories came flooding back, his first fight against Legion. Back then, he couldn't even come close to winning. Legion was leagues ahead of him, a gap so wide it felt impossible to bridge. That's why Lewis had stayed stagnant, even after tens of thousands of years. But Legion, needing allies, offered Lewis a deal. Join him, rise in power, and become one of his servants. It was through this pact that Lewis reached the pinnacle as the phantom demon. Yet here he was now, humiliated by a nameless demon like Damon. Fueled by rage and humiliation, Lewis forced himself out of Damon's mind. He stood his ground, taking his stance, ready to attack. Damon didn't wait. He dashed forward to strike. But Lewis activated his second miracle, the ability to phase through anything. He effortlessly avoided Damon's attack by becoming intangible. However, Damon wasn't surprised. He had anticipated this. Regaining his balance, he pivoted quickly and landed a fatal blow. Damon explained he already knew about Lewis's second miracle, a power that nullifies any attack by allowing the user to pass through it. But he also knew its weakness. To attack others, the user must harden themselves, making them vulnerable. Damon didn't stop there. He revealed that he had fought many powerful demons in his past, including the original owner of this miracle, the illusion demon. That fight had lasted 100 years, back in the ancient days before humans even existed. Now, let's shift gears to Magpie. She's locked in a fierce struggle against Sora, the female demon who had contacted Lewis and Oscar earlier. Yeah, that's right. The one and only Sora is stepping into the fray. Hours before Magpie and her team reached Legion's building, Legion was struggling to figure out how to control the holy flame. It was a big problem for him because he knew Magpie was coming for him that night, planning to strike while he was vulnerable. Desperate, he called in Sora for help. He promised her a lot of money if she could delay Magpie. And of course, Sora agreed. Because who says no to a fat stack of cash, right? Now back to the present. Sora was downright thrilled when she finally saw Magpie. Turns out, Sora has a bit of a thing for pretty girls. But things got intense fast. Sora realized Magpie wasn't human. The way she fought, completely ignoring the damage to her own body, gave it away. Like she was some sort of immortal. Magpie, though, wasn't interested in small talk. She snapped back, saying who or what she is has nothing to do with Sora. And honestly, Sora wasn't in a position to talk since she herself is a demon. But Sora, being curious and a little creepy, couldn't help herself. She explained how much she'd studied the differences between demons and humans. No matter how perfectly a demon mimics a human, there's always something that gives them away. But Magpie? Magpie was different. She fooled even Sora completely, and that drove Sora wild with curiosity. She needed to know, how did Magpie pull it off? Sora got right up in Magpie's face, grabbing her and asking to know how Magpie became a knight. Magpie didn't flinch. She just called her a pervert. Sora laughed it off, saying demons were boring, but humans? Humans were fascinating. She just wanted to make a bunch of human friends. Then, with a creepy smile, Sora made her offer. She promised Magpie she'd buy her anything she wanted in exchange for her friendship. But Magpie wasn't having it. She pulled out a flashbang and tossed it to the ground, telling Sora she had zero interest in being friends with a demon. Magpie dashed back to avoid the blast while Sora got caught in it. But here's the thing. Sora barely took any damage. The flashbang left her with just a minor injury. Magpie didn't let up, though. In her new power suit, designed specifically for knights, she dashed forward, attacking Sora with everything she had. Sora, however, had a trick up her sleeve. She turned into water, effortlessly dodging Magpie's attack. Then, she decided to up the stakes. Using her special move, the entire area transformed into an underwater battlefield. And that's when a giant, terrifying demon octopus appeared behind them. Why? Because Sora isn't just any demon. She's the Abyss Demon. Sora quickly realized Magpie's biggest weakness, her arrogance. Without her miracle, Magpie's power meant little. So, Sora launched a barrage of concentrated water bolts. Magpie tried to fend them off with her blade, but there were just too many, and they were too fast. One bolt struck her from behind. Not stopping there, Sora turned those water bolts into spinning, destructive water chainsaws. The chainsaws tore through Magpie's power suit, breaking it apart. As she started falling, Sora took control of her giant demon octopus, which grabbed Magpie midair. Sora got up close and personal, asking, "Why are you even doing this? Even demons fear those who are stronger. So, what's your deal? Do knights earn way more money than I thought?" Then Sora went on this rant about humans, saying they don't treat each other as equals unless money is involved. But if you're rich, oh, then you've got plenty of friends. Magpie wasn't impressed. She snapped back, telling Sora that all her studies about humans meant absolutely nothing. She even mocked Sora, saying, "The only thing you probably found in this city are gold diggers. Humans don't call them friends. And someone like you? We call you a total pushover." Sora had had enough of Magpie's mouth. She commanded the demon octopus to drag Magpie to the deepest, darkest part of the abyss. But then, boom, Magpie's plan started to unfold. Let's talk about that plan for a second. It all started with her experience with the holy flame. After obtaining it, Magpie suffered endlessly. She felt a thirst and hunger that couldn't be quenched, and instead of blood, the flame coursed through her veins, causing unbearable pain. Just when she thought she couldn't take it anymore, the holy flame spoke to her. Its message? Burn something. Kill it. That's why she gave the holy flame to Legion. Her plan? Let the flame torment him. It would leave him defenseless, writhing in agony, just like it did to her. And in that moment of weakness, she'd strike and destroy him. But here's the thing. The flame is tricky. As Legion burns through his enemies to ease his hunger, his power will grow. At first, he'll use demons as fuel, but eventually, he'll realize there's plenty of firewood all around him. By the time the nights arrive in 48 hours, Legion would be unstoppable, fully in control of the holy flame. So, timing is everything. Magpie knows she has to take him out before he figures out how to control it. But right now, if she can't defeat Sora, her whole plan is as good as dead. Just when things seemed bleak, the holy flame erupted from the ground, shattering Sora's water domain in an instant. Legion emerged in a new form, the holy flame surrounding him like an aura. But here's the catch. He still hasn't mastered the flame. He looked at Sora and told her, "Get lost? I'll give you the money we agreed on." Legion was spiraling, barely keeping himself together while the holy flame tore him apart from the inside. He looked like he was about to snap, but somehow, he managed to stay focused long enough to deliver Sora her payment. Except there was a catch. Sora immediately noticed the payment was less than promised. She called him out, but Legion? He didn't care. He coldly explained, "Our deal was for you to hold back a knight, not a demon. So this is fair." Sora wasn't about to let that slide, but Legion shut her down with one threatening look. "Leave," he snarled, "or I'll devour you alive." And that's when Magpie, standing on the sidelines, burst out laughing. She couldn't believe it. "You came here all fired up like it was something important, and it's all just about saving a few coins," she mocked. Legion didn't take that lightly. He grabbed Magpie by the face, lifting her like she was nothing, and demanded, "Tell me how to control this flame." But Magpie? She was unshaken. "I don't know a damn thing about controlling it," she said flatly. Still, she shared what the devil who gave her the flame told her. To a flame that consumes all, its owner is no exception. That only made Legion angrier. He started crushing Magpie's head, furious that she dared to speak down to him. Now, here's the thing. Legion wasn't able to use his other miracles since obtaining the holy flame. But he still had one trick up his sleeve. He could read the life of the flame itself. And what he saw shook him to the core. He was transported into a memory of the holy flame, a vision of hell, filled with endless screams of those it had consumed. Among the chaos, he saw his nameless city, completely destroyed. Then, the devil of the holy flame appeared. It was a haunting image of Magpie, but far more terrifying. Even Legion, with all his power, felt fear creeping in. Desperate, Legion asked, "What kind of devil are you?" The devil smirked. "Funny," she said. "I was just about to ask you the same question." And then she struck. A massive hand of flame surged forward, engulfing Legion entirely. His body burned under the unrelenting power of the holy flame. While Legion was consumed by the attack, Magpie seized the moment. She forced herself to her feet and grabbed her sword, which began to glow with a fierce blue electric aura. With the sword in hand, she charged straight at Legion. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about reclaiming what was hers. And in that moment, she succeeded. Magpie's blade sliced through, and she took back what Legion had stolen, her hand. Mary and Ace were cautiously moving through the building, but something felt off. Every hallway looked the same, and soon they realized. They'd passed the same place 3 times already. It was like the building itself was alive, trapping them in a twisted maze. Mary decided they had to take action. She planned to split the hall in half to figure out what was happening. But before she could, Damon burst onto the scene, destroying a wall and creating an exit for them. How did he find them so easily? Simple. He'd been following Mary's scent. Impressive, right? Mary wasted no time and asked Damon to help them find Magpie. Without hesitation, they all headed toward her location. Now, speaking of Magpie, things had just taken a dramatic turn for her. She'd reclaimed her right hand, and with it, the holy flame miracle was back in her control. Legion was in serious trouble now. Magpie took her stance, wielding the holy flame axe in one hand and the electric knight sword in the other. She was ready for round 2, and this time, she wasn't holding back. Legion, realizing he couldn't rely on his miracles for the moment, turned to Sora for help. But Sora wasn't having it. "You scammed me," she said flatly. "I'm done working with you." Before leaving, Sora couldn't resist a jab at Magpie. "It's amazing how a demon like you could become a knight. Let's see how long that lasts." Then, with a sly smirk, she warped out of the scene, leaving Legion to face Magpie alone. Legion didn't waste time. He regenerated his arm and unleashed a massive force toward both Magpie and where Sora had been. Sora was already gone, of course, so the attack hit nothing but air. Magpie, however, dashed forward, unleashing a wild double slash with her axe and sword. But Legion was quick. He spun into the air and dashed backward, narrowly avoiding her attacks. As he fell, he attempted to land a powerful slam on her. Magpie managed to evade the attack, but there was a cost. Her knight's sword, something she had worked so hard to acquire, was destroyed in the process. With no miracles at his disposal, Legion resorted to a long-forgotten skill, Hangmato, the ancient art of killing demons. Magpie was caught off guard. "Why would a devil learn a skill like that?" she asked, her voice filled with disbelief. Legion laughed in response. "You don't get it, do you? Without a miracle, you can't kill demons. Hangmato isn't about killing, it's about buying time. And that's exactly what I need right now." Magpie smirked, mocking him. "Years of mastering Hangmato, and you couldn't even kill a single demon. What a waste." But before the fight could escalate further, reinforcements arrived. Magpie's team showed up just in time, ready to even the odds. With Magpie's team finally arriving, it was now a 3-versus-1 battle against Legion. Damon wasted no time. He rushed in and instantly beheaded Legion. Quick and clean, right? But here's the thing. Legion wasn't done. Even without his head, he controlled his body, delivering a devastating punch that sent Damon crashing into the ground. But don't count Damon out just yet. He got back up almost immediately, brushing it off like nothing happened. "I never fall for the same trick twice," he growled. Legion was regenerating, and fast. His miracles were starting to come back, including one of the most dangerous ones, teleportation. He wasted no time and activated it, transporting everyone, including himself, to the roof of the building. Legion stood there, looking down at them with a sinister grin. "This is my execution ground," he said. "The perfect place to watch your pathetic deaths." Magpie and Mary didn't flinch. They immediately coordinated their attacks, unleashing a powerful combo move called Daybreak. It was a beautifully synchronized assault, but Legion wasn't an easy target. He saw it coming and divided himself into multiple forms, completely dodging their attack. As he reassembled his body, Magpie seized the opportunity to strike. She rushed forward, ready to land a hit, but Legion dashed backward just in time. That's when Damon came crashing down from above, aiming to finish him off. Magpie used her wings to fly out of the way, avoiding the area entirely. Unfortunately, Damon's attack missed, and Legion countered with one of his most deadly miracles, Command, Exile. This dark electricity-based miracle was no joke. If it touched you, your body would start to collapse from within. Damon narrowly avoided it, but the threat was real, and they were running out of time. Meanwhile, reinforcements were on the way. The warship of the Order of the White, Arondite, was closing in. On board were some of the strongest knights in the Order, including members of the 12 strongest knights. The original plan was to wait for the Order of Red to arrive and join forces with them. But one knight, realizing the dire situation unfolding on the rooftop, decided they couldn't afford to wait any longer. She turned to her squad and gave the order. "We're joining Magpie and Mary right now." As Legion's deadly attacks surged toward Damon, he transformed just in time, deflecting the strike before it could reach him. But Legion wasn't done. Manipulating his miracle, he split the attack in two, sending it hurtling toward Mary and Ace instead. Without hesitation, Mary stepped forward, placing herself between the attack and her ally. She raised her sword and blocked it, though it was clear she was struggling. Legion sneered, confused. "You have a miracle that lets you master anything you hold. So why insist on using a sword? Show me what you can do, world's strongest swordmaster." Mary, still holding firm, reflected on something important. Everyone misunderstands her miracle. It's not about the object in her hand. It's about her unwavering ability to hold on and never let go. If she couldn't protect the thing she's holding, how could she ever protect the people who depend on her as a knight? With newfound resolve, Mary turned the tables. She manipulated Legion's miracle, transforming it into a bolt of energy with her move, Midnight, and redirected it straight back at him. The explosion that followed was massive. Legion got hit by his own attack, and though he began to regenerate, this time his recovery was slower. Legion wasn't about to let her have the upper hand. He lunged at Mary, aiming to kick her to the ground, but her sister intervened at the last second, saving her with the holy flame. The flame latched onto Legion's leg, burning it fiercely. Forced to act fast, Legion cut off his own leg and regenerated it, slamming the ground in frustration. From the debris, Legion hurled a massive rock toward Magpie, but Damon stepped in and shattered it into pieces. In the chaos, Damon noticed something crucial. Mary's counterattack had weakened Legion's ability to regenerate. This was their chance. Relentless attacks now, Damon roared. He dashed forward, aiming straight for Legion's head, and destroyed it in one swift move. As Legion tried to summon another miracle, Damon pierced his body with spikes that shot out from his own. With Legion pinned, Damon turned to Magpie. "Now or never," he shouted. Magpie knew exactly what to do. She activated the holy flame, her hand blazing with its destructive power. Dashing forward, she aimed to burn Legion to death. As she got closer, she said, "Let's find out how many years you're worth." This was just like when he was trapped in that memory of the holy flame. Legion began to realize something unsettling. The fear he felt as Magpie burned him was just like that encounter with the demon inside the holy flame. The terror, the overwhelming sense of doom. It was all too familiar. As Magpie's holy flame raged, its light spilled out into the city, catching the attention of the citizens below. Even the city hall itself began to shift, creaking and groaning as if alive. The fiery burst was undeniable, and the people finally saw the chaos unfolding above. Furious, Legion unleashed his full devil form, revealing his terrifying true self. With a burst of raw power, he sent a shockwave that threw Magpie and Damon back, leaving Magpie's entire body paralyzed from the force. Rage consumed Legion. His city, his sanctuary of supposed safety, was now exposed. "This city was mine, and now they've seen everything," he roared. Taking his position as mayor to a dark extreme, Legion unleashed his full power. His judgment? Death for Magpie. As the devastating attack closed in on her, Damon stepped in, taking the full force of the blow to protect her. The result was brutal. Damon's body was split in half, and this time, even his regenerative powers couldn't save him. Barely able to speak, Damon urged Magpie, "Take your sister and run. Don't stop, no matter what." His voice was heavy with emotion as he added, "I've already lost one friend before. I won't lose another here." Before Magpie could react, Legion finished Damon off, destroying his head right in front of her eyes. Magpie's holy flame, which had burned so fiercely on Legion's face, was extinguished by his immense power. Seizing the moment, Legion lunged forward and kicked Magpie to the ground, his voice dripping with malice. "Your colleague who trusted you, your subordinate, and any knight who dares come here in the future, I'll send all of them to hell." But just as it seemed all hope was lost, something changed. Magpie's eyes began to glow, radiating with the holy flame's light. A powerful energy surged around her, and it was clear. Something big was about to happen. All right, let's rewind the clock to 40 hours earlier. Magpie was lying on her bed, her face heavy with sadness. Damon, being the thoughtful friend he is, walked in carrying her favorite cake, toothpaste flavor, as he joked, trying to lighten the mood. But Damon wasn't just there for cake and jokes. He knew Magpie couldn't defeat Legion on her own, no matter how much she assured him otherwise. He could see right through her lies. So, he made a bold proposal. Make him her kin. Magpie looked at him, confused. "What does that even mean? What happens when you make a kin or become one?" she asked. Damon explained. "When you become a kin, you gain strength by inheriting part of your master's miracle. At the same time, the master, Magpie, in this case, becomes an even stronger demon because their miracle grows in power. Hearing this, Magpie froze. If she made Damon her kin, it would make her even more of a demon than she already was. She hated the idea. Even though she was a demon herself, she despised demons more than anything in the world. Damon didn't hold back. "Do you hate yourself?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes." Then, slowly, she began to open up. Magpie recounted her life, how she'd almost died at the hands of a demon, only to survive. But surviving came with a horrifying realization. She must have been a demon all along. That's why she spent her life killing demons, trying to deny the truth about herself. She thought becoming a knight, killing demons, and helping people would erase what she was. But it was a lie. Her holy flame, the same flame she thought was her redemption, was urging her to destroy everything, not just demons. Magpie's voice cracked as she confessed, "A few days ago, I burned a human to death for the first time. I hoped it wouldn't happen, but my lifespan extended. The holy flame is a flame that kills demons, yes, but it doesn't only kill demons." She revealed the chilling truth. She had less than 2 years left to live, and as her lifespan dwindled, the flame grew hungrier, urging her to burn more. She felt trapped, blaming herself for becoming no better than the monsters who killed her family. Damon didn't flinch. "Does that even matter?" he asked her. "Does having a terrible miracle make you a terrible demon? You saved me despite everything. That's why I trust you. And if you ever lose your way, I'll be there to help you." Now, fast forward back to where we left off. Legion's real form had completely overtaken the building. His towering presence radiated pure malice as he began walking toward Damon's lifeless body. His goal? To eat Damon and steal his miracle. But then, Magpie, alive and burning with new energy, rose to her feet. Her body had transformed into a new, terrifyingly powerful form. She stood protectively over Damon's body, surrounding him with her holy flame. Legion smirked, thinking she was just trying to protect her fallen comrade. But then it hit him. Something was wrong. Damon's body was melting away, merging with the flames like molten metal in a forge. Magpie's voice rang out with determination as her holy flame shifted and solidified into a blade. She had done the unthinkable. She made Damon her kin, transforming him into her new weapon. Legion panicked, unleashing a horde of rats to stop her. But with one strike from her glowing blade, the attack was completely destroyed. And here's the twist. Damon was alive, fully conscious and infused with Magpie's power. Together, in this powerful new form, they were ready to face Legion. Legion had finally figured it out. Magpie's new form wasn't just her. Damon had become her kin. He wasn't just her blade. He was also her armor, protecting her as they fought together. But Legion wasn't impressed. Surrounding her with his domain, he boasted about his power. "I've made over 1,000 kin in 10,000 years, he declared, his voice dripping with arrogance. "Do you really think one kin can stand against 1,000? Before he could finish his taunt, Magpie was already behind him. With a single, devastating slash from her holy flame blade, she landed a clean hit. Legion staggered, unable to keep up with her speed. Then, she took to the air, her form glowing with power as she plummeted toward him. In response, Legion summoned a swarm of massive centipedes, sending them straight at her. But Magpie was relentless. Her sheer speed rendered the attack useless. The centipedes dissolved into nothing as she dashed through them. Desperate to defend himself, Legion empowered his arm and braced for her next attack. But it was no use. With one mighty slash, Magpie ripped his arm clean off. The force of her strike created a massive blast of holy flame that spread far and wide, scorching everything in its path. At this point, Legion was starting to realize something terrifying. Magpie wasn't just faster. She was better in every way: speed, strength, reflexes, defense, and attack power. Everything about her was superior. How can a mere pair of demons accomplish this?" he stammered, unable to hide his disbelief. Magpie, confident and mocking, hit him with the cold truth. "The only difference between a devil and a demon is strength. And guess what? You're not as strong as you think." Legion's frustration boiled over. He transformed into his full devil form and unleashed his strongest miracle, Command, Exile. The power was so overwhelming that even a fraction of it immobilized the humans on the ground below. But Magpie didn't flinch. She took her stance, raised her blade, and with one mighty swing, she summoned a massive holy flame tornado, blocking Legion's miracle. Legion roared in anger, increasing the output of his attack. The air was heavy with power, but Damon, now part of Magpie, guided her. He whispered instructions, showing her how to harness the tornado technique to its full potential. With their combined strength, Magpie not only contained Legion's strongest attack, but completely dismissed it. The tornado dissipated, leaving Legion wide open. Magpie didn't waste a second. She countered with a slash so powerful it lit up the battlefield, a blinding streak of holy flame that could be seen for miles. The ground shook from the sheer force of her attack. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the chaos, the Order of White, the legendary White Knights, were working tirelessly to evacuate the citizens caught in the crossfire. Their priority was saving as many lives as possible while Magpie and Legion clashed in this earth-shattering battle. With that final slash, Magpie managed to defeat Legion, completely undoing his devil form. As he fell, his body broken, he was still conscious. But just as victory seemed certain, he snapped his fingers, and in an instant, everything rewound. Time itself bent to his will, bringing them all back to the moment before Magpie could land her winning blow. Even Ace, who was carrying Mary, was stunned to find himself back in that earlier moment. Magpie, realizing what had happened, yelled at Ace, "There's no time. Get her out of here." Legion, still standing tall, admitted, "You and Damon, you're something else. Even after rewinding time, I couldn't separate you two." Magpie didn't waste a second. She raised her sword, ready to strike again. But before she could move, Legion was already behind her. His speed was unreal. Smirking, he said, "You know what I like about humans? They're games. Especially the ones where you fight a powerful boss. They're like Souls games. No matter how hard it gets, as long as the player doesn't give up, they can win. And I never give up." Magpie responded with her blade, slicing his head clean off. But it didn't matter. Legion regenerated instantly, his body snapping back together like nothing had happened. He wasn't done playing. Using another miracle, Legion surrounded Magpie with countless clones of himself, each one just as menacing as the original. But Magpie wasn't fazed. She unleashed a flurry of holy flame slashes, cutting through the clones one by one. Yet no matter how many she destroyed, Legion just kept multiplying. Even Damon, fused with her as her weapon and armor, started showing cracks under the relentless assault. Then, Legion paused and made her an offer, a familiar one. "Join me," he said. "Become my head manager. Protect this city, and in return, I'll take care of your firewood. Forever. No more struggle. No more pain." Magpie's response was sharp and immediate. "Even though I'm a devil, I don't eat humans. That's not who I am." Hearing her refusal, all of Legion's clones launched their strongest miracle at her in unison. A barrage of devastating power shot toward her like an unstoppable wave. But Magpie wasn't backing down. She took to the air, dodging the attack, and then descended at blinding speed. Her target? The real Legion. She drove her blade straight into his head. The clones vanished in an instant, and Legion staggered, unable to regenerate this time. Damon's voice echoed through her mind, explaining how they found the real Legion. "It's his smell. He has a unique scent that can't be hidden. That's how we knew." And just like that, with precision and teamwork, Magpie and Damon defeated the Devil Legion, ending his reign of terror. After defeating Legion, Magpie devoured him. Yeah, she consumed him whole. But as soon as it was done, she collapsed to the ground, completely exhausted. Damon, still with her as a sword, reassured her, "You're the one who defeated him." But Magpie shook her head, correcting him. "No, we defeated him. Together." She looked at him and thanked him, genuinely. Damon just smiled and said, "What are friends for?" Now, while they were catching their breath, trouble was already brewing underground. Turns out, Legion had been keeping 3 insanely powerful demons imprisoned, and now that he was gone, they were free. The first thing these demons did? Slaughter all the weaker demons that had been working under Legion. They wiped them out like it was nothing. Once the bloodbath was over, they set their sights on Magpie and Damon, ready to take them down. Meanwhile, Ace was running for his life, carrying Mary, who was still unconscious. But just as he thought they were in the clear, a hermit crab demon started chasing them down. This thing wasn't playing. It wanted to crack their skulls open and feast on their brains. Ace ran as fast as he could, but he stumbled over a crack in the ground and fell. It was a terrifying moment. The crab demon loomed over them, its claws ready to strike. But then boom! A blast of fire roared out of nowhere, incinerating the crab demon on the spot. And who showed up to save the day? One of the 12 strongest knights of this generation, the painter knight, Colette. Colette's miracle is something else. She can summon creatures by painting them, kind of like Sai from Naruto. And guess what? She summoned a massive dragon that unleashed that fiery breath, completely obliterating the crab demon. When she saw Ace and Mary were okay, you could tell she was relieved. She has a vision impairment, so she's not exactly the best at seeing things, but her other senses make up for it. Ace, on the other hand, was shocked to realize that Colette wasn't just any knight. She's one of the Meridians, the elite warriors who rule the Grand Cathedral. These are the top 12 strongest knights of their generation. But while that was happening, back where Magpie and Damon were, the 3 demons arrived. These weren't just any demons. They were terrifyingly strong, and they weren't there to talk. They were ready to kill. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, a portal opened in the sky. But this wasn't just any portal. It was a dimensional portal, the kind that only someone truly powerful could open. Who stepped through? Mary's master. This wasn't just some ordinary person. This was one of the strongest Meridians, someone who can literally slash through dimensions along other Meridians. The knights were completely shocked when they saw Magpie had taken down the devil, Legion, all by herself. That's no small feat, so, of course, Eric, the Meridian Prodigy Knight, stepped up and carried Magpie to safety. But here's the funny thing. Damon, who's basically Magpie's sword right now, was thinking, why didn't this guy take me with him? I'm the sword, after all. But before they could really think about it, one of the demons tried to attack. It powered up its arm and charged right at Eric. Enter Wolfgang Ludwig, the Meridian Wolven Knight. This guy didn't even flinch. With just one arm, he stopped the demon's attack, then casually ripped off the demon's arm. Talk about effortless. But things didn't stop there. Samryong, the Meridian Dharmapla Knight, who's 112 years old, jumped into action. This guy, despite his age, didn't waste any time. He took a flying kick stance, and then a giant rock leg manifested, smashing the demon into the ground. The samurai demon tried to interfere, but before it could even react, Leal Haas, the Meridian Winter Knight, stepped in. She has the ability to manipulate ice, and she used it to freeze the samurai demon. Meanwhile, Ace was explaining everything to Mary, while Colette was finishing off the remaining demons nearby. Just when they thought they could relax, a dimensional portal opened behind them. Before they could even process it, a slash cut through the air and defeated the demon trying to escape. The demon was shocked, not understanding how this knight managed to catch up with its teleportation. Well, that knight was Elizabeth White Hughes, the Meridian Pale Knight, and also Mary's master. She explained that she could slash through dimensions to track down enemies, and that's exactly what she did. Back to the action, Leal Haas easily defeated the samurai demon, which meant that the battle was pretty much over. But then, something changed. Elizabeth analyzed the situation and realized something major. She said, Magpie's holy flame was powerful enough to kill a devil. She did it all by herself, and she didn't have any visible injuries. That's when the truth hit her. Magpie is a demon, and now Elizabeth had a suspicion that was going to change everything. Mary was standing there, stunned, and she knew it too. She realized that she and her sister were in serious trouble. So, after everything that went down, Eric gave a report about the Nameless City, which was under Legion's control, and how Magpie single-handedly defeated him. Now, part of that control over the city is being handed over to the Grand Cathedral. But things aren't quite done yet. Elizabeth, The Plan Knight told them that they need to investigate Magpie being a demon. Leelhas decided to put that investigation on hold until Magpie and her sister could recover from their battle. A lot of people were left wondering, how did Magpie manage to take down a devil all by herself? It was no easy feat, and the question of how she did it kept coming up. Leel talked with Eric about what to do next, and he suggested making Magpie the Dawn Knight. But Leel pointed out that they'd need the approval of the ring to make that happen. Fast forward 2 months, and Magpie was all over the news. Everyone was talking about how she managed to defeat the devil in the Nameless City and how her holy flame could kill any demon. On the other hand, Ace had just finished up his long day of work. But, of course, Magpie kept taking money from him to pay off her debts. The boss came over and gave Ace a bottle of water and pointed out that he saw him in the newspapers. Apparently, Ace, the 16-year-old boy who saved the suited knight, Mary, was getting some serious attention. Ace couldn't help but remember how Magpie and Damon always used his money for whatever they wanted, and they were always laughing about it. But tomorrow, Ace's contract was ending, so he was thinking about finding a new job. The boss gave him an envelope full of money and told him that someone asked, "What does the fruit of your labor taste like?" And it turns out, Magpie was the one who sent him here. She had described Ace as a brave and diligent guy. Before Ace left, the boss reminded him not to take any weird jobs and to come back tomorrow for work. In the end, Magpie wasn't just taking his money. She returned all the money he gave her. What she wanted was for him to experience the taste of earning money through hard work, not through scamming people. When Ace returned home, he found his parents were back to normal. The memories they had lost were restored, and they even prepared a birthday cake for him. Things were starting to look up for him. Back to Magpie and her sister. Magpie reflected on her secret behind killing demons, which was her desperate need to extend her lifespan. After taking down Legion, Magpie now had 5 years and 27 days to live. She listed the demons she had killed, including the Fishhead Demon, half a day, the Marsh Demon, 2 days, and the Puppeteer Demon, about 2 months. Absorbing Legion gave her 5 more years. Then Damon showed up, carrying a letter from the Grand Cathedral. Mary was deep in thought, knowing it was only a matter of time before they figured out that Magpie is actually a devil. The letter was about Magpie's huge contribution in defeating the Life Devil, and now the Grand Cathedral wanted to appoint her as the Dawn Knight. There was going to be a medal ceremony, and as a knight, she'd be evaluated as a candidate for a potential Meridian member, one of the 12 strongest knights. But here's the real shocker. The devil Magpie made a deal with was the Dream Devil. And another bombshell. There's a devil that looks exactly like Magpie, called the Ash Devil, and she can also use the Holy Flame. Meanwhile, in the Science City of Paraclete, the Central District was under attack by none other than a demon from ancient times, the mountain demon, Atlas. This beast caused 311 buildings and 21 roads to be destroyed in a single day. The city's defenses were struggling to hold him back, but they had one last hope, their big cannon. After charging it up with enough energy, the leader gave the order to fire. A blind shell was shot at Atlas, and it landed precisely on his left leg. But here's the kicker. Atlas only took about 3% of the damage. The reason? The shell was a sub-zero blind shell, meaning it didn't have enough impact to do significant damage. Naturally, Atlas was furious and crushed their frontline defenses. The leader quickly ordered them to prepare for a second shot, but before they could fire, something unexpected happened. A knight appeared in the scene, Gwendolyn, a knight from the Order of Red. She was seen climbing up Atlas's left leg, right where the blind shell had landed. With incredible determination, she hit the blind shell, causing a massive explosion that finally silenced the mountain demon, Atlas. Everyone thought Gwendolyn was done for after the explosion, and they feared she had been caught in it. But here's the twist. Gwendolyn Leonhardt, the rookie knight from the Order of Red, wasn't dead. In fact, she was very much alive. In just a year of being a knight, she had managed to defeat ancient demons and make a name for herself as the best rookie knight of all time. Her miracle? Invincibility. With that power, Gwendolyn had become one of the most feared knights, capable of defying the odds even when facing the most powerful opponents. She was a force to be reckoned with. After her victory, Gwendolyn returned to the capital of Ring, to the Grand Cathedral. The news was buzzing with her recent achievements. how she had defeated an ancient demon without a single injury. It was all anyone was talking about. Once she finished her report, she stepped outside and saw a poster of herself on the wall. She stopped and stared at it, deep in thought. That poster showed her a hero. She explained to Michael, the Meridian Judgment Knight, and also her master, that the Grand Master had said the people were in desperate need of a hero, and she wanted to be that hero. Michael, honored to hear such a thing from such a strong knight, told her that he too should work harder. Together, they headed to the special medal ceremony, where only one knight, without a title, would be awarded a medal for their bravery. Gwendolyn was confident it would be her. After all, she had defeated so many demons, including one from ancient times. But Michael reminded her, even without a badge, she was already an incredible knight. When the ceremony began, however, the medal didn't go to her. It went to Magpie, the Dawn Knight and candidate for the Meridians. Gwendolyn was stunned, her heart sinking in disbelief. Everyone clapped for Magpie. Posters of Magpie were all over the place, and merchants were selling dolls of her. The crowd was cheering, celebrating the defeat of the devil. But as Gwendolyn walked through the crowd, she realized that even though she had accomplished so much this year, no one cared about her. They were all too busy cheering for Magpie. She walked past a mural of Magpie, showing how strong and honorable she was, and it broke her even more when she saw people tearing down her own poster to replace it with Magpie's. The crowd was so focused on Magpie's image that they didn't even care about her. Feeling lost and broken, Gwendolyn stood there alone, with tears threatening to fall. She couldn't understand how Magpie had managed to defeat a devil by herself. She also wanted to be a hero, but it seemed like Magpie had taken her place. Just as the tears were about to take over, Damon approached her. He asked if she wanted to have a match with him. Gwendolyn, still feeling down, pointed out that she wasn't in the right mood for a match right now, so Damon should just head on his way. But Damon, being Damon, didn't back down. He wanted to face off against her since she managed to defeat Atlas, a feat not many could claim. Gwendolyn, however, wasn't interested in that. She told him if he was looking for a story, he should go interview the Dawn Knight, Magpie. After all, her tale was probably much more exciting. But Damon wasn't having it. He said he was tired of hearing Magpie's story and was more curious about Gwendolyn's. Gwendolyn didn't see the point in fighting him and reminded Damon that knights get fired for attacking civilians without a valid reason. Instead, she offered to share her story without the fight. And so, she explained how she defeated Atlas and what her miracle was. Her invisibility miracle sounded overpowered, but Gwendolyn explained that maintaining it wasn't as easy as it seemed. The condition was tough. If she felt afraid or unstable, her miracle would weaken. She had to go through intense training to keep her mind calm in any situation. She then opened up about why she wanted to be a hero. Her father, a former hero with a similar miracle, was always busy. She rarely saw him, and people had high expectations of her because she was his daughter. Damon asked her if that was really what she wanted, or if it was just what everyone else expected of her. Gwendolyn didn't hesitate to say that, of course, it was what she wanted. She hated the thought of not living up to others' expectations. As Gwendolyn spoke, Damon learned something interesting. Magpie was once her classmate at the Knight Academy. Back then, Magpie didn't have a miracle, which made her stand out in a bad way since all the cadets were there to become knights. That's why Magpie didn't get to participate in many of the training sessions, unlike Gwendolyn, who was always at the top of her class. Her miracle, invincibility, was a powerful gift, and her master was one of the Meridians, which put her in the spotlight. But what really bugged Gwendolyn was how Magpie managed to defeat a devil all on her own after just a year. She couldn't understand it and had a burning desire to fight Magpie to figure out what made her so different. Damon, though, suggested something else. He asked, why not just try to be her friend instead of fighting? You don't always have to fight to get what you want, he told her, handing her an ice cream as he walked away. When you're feeling down, sweet things make you feel better. Gwendolyn looked at the ice cream, a little smile creeping up as she was left with some food for thought. Meanwhile, Meridian All-Purpose Knight Russell Hudson invited Michael and Meridian Silver Knight Ruta to a meeting. He showed them a branch of the Dream Devil, the same one Magpie had made a deal with. Russell had some urgent news. As soon as the festival ended, all members would be summoned. Why? Because the Dream Devil wasn't alone anymore. This time, he was accompanied by the Ash Devil, one of the most dangerous and powerful devils in human history. Magpie was getting more famous by the day, and industries were lining up, offering her sponsorships from all kinds of places. But after a while, she'd had enough. So, she disguised herself as a normal person, hoping to avoid all the attention. Meanwhile, Damon was at a bar, doing what he does best, challenging people to crazy contests. This time, he went up against Meridian Fortress Knight Bellatrix in a drinking contest. And let me tell you, Bellatrix wasn't just any amateur. She broke her own record of 31 glasses. But Damon wasn't backing down. As he started gulping his 30-second glass, it was clear that neither of them was about to quit. That's when Magpie showed up. She wasn't having it and dragged Damon out of the contest before he could get himself into even more trouble. But Bellatrix wasn't going to let it slide that easily. As soon as she heard her name, she grabbed her hammer and challenged Magpie to a duel. The whole bar started cheering, excited to see the showdown. But before Bellatrix could even take her first swing, she was out cold, knocked out from all the alcohol. It was a hilarious moment. Magpie wasted no time, dragging Damon out of there and running off before things got even crazier. Then, Gwendolyn happened to run into Magpie and Damon outside, and things took an unexpected turn. Damon, still drunk, started talking about how he met Gwendolyn, calling her a kind and cute knight. That's when Magpie threatened him, warning him that if Gwendolyn found out their secret, she'd probably kill him. But just as Damon was about to slip up, Gwendolyn stepped in, having overheard the whole conversation. She reminded Magpie that using her miracle against a civilian was a crime, and she wasn't going to let it slide. Fortunately, Gwendolyn didn't catch on to their true identities, but Magpie wasn't taking any chances. Magpie started panicking, afraid that Damon, who was still drunk, might spill the beans. She started thinking about the worst-case scenario. What if they were thrown into Cocytus forever, locked away in that freezing prison? In a desperate move, Magpie looked at Damon, face flushed with embarrassment, and said, "He's my boyfriend." It was an awkward, shy declaration, but it worked. Gwendolyn, not expecting this answer, let the whole thing slide. Magpie was in full-on panic mode, realizing she'd accidentally called Damon her boyfriend when she meant to say he was her relative. Gwendolyn, overhearing this, was quick to ask Damon about his relationship with Magpie. Damon casually replied that he and Magpie were linked together by a contract. Naturally, Gwendolyn thought the worst. She immediately assumed that Damon and Magpie were engaged. But then, to make things even more confusing, Magpie grabbed Damon's hand, as if to confirm Gwendolyn's worst fears. Gwendolyn, her emotions running high, snapped. She felt like Magpie had stolen everything from her. "You're always taking things from me," she said, frustrated and sad. Magpie, not understanding where this was coming from, was confused. "I've never met you before," she said. But Gwendolyn wasn't backing down. "Of course, you wouldn't know who I am," she retorted. "You stole my chance to get a title, to earn respect from everyone, and now you're taking away my man." She stormed off, vowing that she would kill the next devil all by herself. Damon, still a bit lost, turned to Magpie and asked, "What does boyfriend mean?" But Magpie, trying to brush it off, simply said, "You don't need to know." The next morning, Mary was talking about the next step in their plans, saying that when it came time to work with the knights, she'd ask them to let her sister take down their enemies with the holy flame. She believed this would increase her lifespan even more, which was a good move given their current situation. But Magpie wasn't so sure. She didn't want to be a knight anymore. "Everyone seems to think I'm this great hero, but it wasn't my skill that defeated the life demon," she confessed. "It was just a bunch of lucky events. If even one of those hadn't happened, we all would have been killed. Now, I'm supposed to join the Meridians, but I'm not a hero. I'm a demon. It's impossible to avoid the other knights now." Magpie realized that, for her own safety, she needed to disappear completely. Mary promised she'd stick by her, no matter what, and that she'd always be there for Magpie. Meanwhile, Leal and Eric were discussing the upcoming expedition, where they would face off against the Dream Devil. Eric told her that the Order of Red had already set out ahead of them, but he reassured her. Don't worry, we've got the Dawn Knight with us. We're not the only one fighting this time. Magpie and Mary are all set to head to the place where the big expedition will take place. They headed where the stable is. The ceremonial weapon of the knights, Iron Horse, Graham. And guess what? Graham congratulated Magpie on becoming the new owner of it. It's a big deal. The higher-ups believe there's no one more deserving than her. But this expedition isn't going to be easy. They have to travel across a border with no roads. That means no ships, no cars, just horses. Oh, and Damon? He's tagging along too, but not as a person. He's in the form of a sword. Magpie's a little puzzled by the timing, though. She's been wanting to disappear, run away, but here she is, stuck in this expedition. She had a bad feeling about it even before it started. In fact, she had a dream. And in that dream, things didn't end well. She promised herself she wouldn't let it end like that. Then, the bell in the cathedral rang. And when that bell rings, it's not a good sign. There's a bell in this city no one ever wants to hear. It rings 3 different ways, each one signaling something terrible. Once, if a knight gets killed by a demon. Twice, if a powerful demon, like the ones from ancient times, appears. And 3 times? That's when all the knights are summoned because the devil is here. Yeah, you don't want to hear that bell ring 3 times. Back at home, Samryong's granddaughter is worried. She told him to come back safe. Samryong tried to reassure her, telling her to listen to her mom and not worry. But Sorim, his granddaughter, was scared. She didn't want her grandpa to leave, especially not after hearing that bell. Samryong, though, reminded her of miracles, how there's power that can defeat demons. Sorim wanted that miracle for her grandpa too. She asked if he was going to lose to a strong demon. Samryong told her that at times like this, you can't let fear take over. Even if the night is dark, the morning sun always rises. Just like 10 years ago, everything would be okay. And with that, Samryong joined the knights for the expedition. While all that was happening, Magpie and Mary stopped for a quick rest. Mary stayed with Damon, while Magpie took a nap. And this is where things get interesting. Mary asked Damon what kind of demon he really is. Damon dodged the question at first, but Mary wasn't having it. She pointed out that she realized something. Damon is the demon from 10 years ago. Damon, though, assured her that he's never lied. The demon from 10 years ago is different from who he is now. He's not looking to go back to his old ways. And with how strong Damon is, and knowing Mary fought him back then, it's pretty clear now. Damon isn't just any demon. He's a devil. That's right. The Firebird even called him the Devil of Luck. Damon went on to explain that right now, Magpie and Mary are his friends. They're the ones who helped shape the current version of him. Mary, though, wasn't done. She told Damon that there might come a time when she won't be able to help them anymore. She hopes that no matter what, they'll continue to help each other. Damon agreed. No matter the situation, he'd help Magpie. And that made Mary smile, relieved and reassured. Meanwhile, over at the border wasteland, the Dream Devil's territory, the leader of the Order of Red, Maximilian, was getting updates on the situation. All the demons nearby had been dealt with, but Maximilian wasn't focused on that. No, he was waiting for one thing, the arrival of the Dawn Knight, Magpie. After resting, the journey continued, but Magpie, exhausted, drifted off to sleep again. This time, her dream was a nightmare. Her sister Mary was dead. In the dream, Magpie turned to the Dream Devil, blaming him for what happened to her sister. The devil didn't deny her anger. Instead, he told her that if she wanted to end this, she'd have to kill him with the holy flame she'd received through her own will. In that moment, Magpie unleashed her power. She transformed into a form that looked eerily like the Ash Devil. It was a terrifying image. Magpie woke up with a start, stressed and shaken. She looked at Mary and quickly reassured her that everything was fine, but her mind wouldn't let go of the nightmare. That form she'd taken in her dream, what did it mean? She couldn't wrap her head around it. As they pressed on, they encountered knights from the Order of Red. These knights had a message for Magpie. Maximilian had ordered them to bring her to him. When they arrived at Maximilian's tent, he wasted no time. He got straight to the point. He wanted Magpie to join the Order of Red. According to him, Staying in the Order of White wasn't doing her any favors. It wouldn't let her grow or reach her full potential. But Leal couldn't take this seriously. She thought it was a joke. Maximilian didn't back down, though. He explained the difference between the two orders. The Order of White? Just a scouting task force. But the Order of Red? They were the nation's protectors, the National Guard. Maximilian then laid out the facts. The Dawn Knight, Magpie, had killed 52 demons in a year. That's the number of demons a renowned knight usually fights before retiring. And one of those demons wasn't just any ordinary demon. It was a devil. To him, letting such a skilled knight remain in the Order of White was a national waste. Before things could escalate, Mary stepped in. She made it clear they were going to pretend they didn't hear Maximilian's offer. Mary had been by Magpie's side ever since she was a cadet, and she intended to stay by her side in the future. She reminded Maximilian that having someone from the main force accompany Magpie was an efficient strategy. But Maximilian had other ideas. As the Grand Master of the Knights, he issued a new order. Mary was to stay out from now on. This crossed the line for Leal. She called him out, saying he was mocking one of the heroes of the Night of Uproar. But Maximilian stood firm. He argued that Mary's past achievements, being a war hero, the world's strongest swordmaster, and the master of the Dawn Knight, were exactly why she wasn't qualified to stay. She'd achieved everything there was to achieve, yet she hadn't chosen to become a Meridian Knight. Magpie surprised everyone by agreeing to join the Order of Red, but with one condition. Maximilian would have to resign as Grand Master. She made it clear that she couldn't work under someone like him. Maximilian didn't take this lightly. He challenged her, asking if she was making a death wish. But Magpie didn't back down. She shot back, calling him weaker than her. The tension in the room was palpable, and everyone knew this wasn't over. Maximilian looked Magpie straight in the eyes this time, studying her closely. And in that moment, he knew. Magpie wasn't here for glory or riches. She wasn't dreaming of honor or medals. No, the only thing driving her was pure, unfiltered hatred for demons. And you know what? That's exactly what Maximilian saw in himself. He laughed, almost like he was impressed, and offered her a deal. He'd give her his position as Grand Master, if she could beat him in a fight. But Magpie wasn't having any of it. She refused and told him flat out that she'd appreciate it if he just stopped talking to her altogether. Still, Maximilian wasn't done. He turned to Leal and gave her orders. Send her elite forces to the 4th rendezvous point in 2 hours. After that, Magpie left the tent. Now, Gwendolyn? She was furious. She couldn't believe all the attention was on Magpie. She even tried to argue that Magpie wasn't the only strong knight in the Order of Red, hinting at herself. But Maximilian shut her down with just a look. His face turned cold, and he asked if she had a problem with his decision. Then he laid it out for her. He wasn't looking for a powerful knight. What he needed was a monster, someone who had nothing left to lose. Outside the tent, Magpie had left Damon in his sword form, stabbed into the ground. And guess who showed up? Bellatrix. She tried to pull the sword out with everything she had. She gave it her all but couldn't budge it an inch. Then Magpie came out. Without even breaking a sweat, she pulled Damon out of the ground like it was nothing, like she was picking up a feather. Bellatrix? She was stunned, standing there in disbelief. Now let's get to the big moment. The knights from the Order of White and Red were deep in the heart of the forest. They found themselves standing before this massive, ominous door. And not just any door. This was the gateway to the Dream Devil's lair. Maximilian explained that the Dream Devil was likely behind that door. But Magpie noticed something the others didn't. She asked if anyone had checked the writing on the door. The thing was, they couldn't see it. Only demons could. Magpie read it aloud. A dream can only become reality once the price has been paid. And with that, the door creaked open. But just as they thought they were about to face the Dream Devil, guess who appeared? The puppeteer demon, the same one Magpie had killed before. It came charging out of the door, attacking her head-on. Magpie froze as she saw the puppeteer demon again, controlling her sister just like before. It was like reliving her worst nightmare. She couldn't hold back, she snapped. With a burst of anger, she unleashed her skill, Daybreak, and went straight for the demon. But something was wrong. Her blade didn't connect. No impact, no resistance. Then it got worse. The splat of darkness from the demon started to morph, shifting and multiplying. It wasn't just a demon anymore. It was turning into something far more sinister. Dario, the Rose Knight, charged in, trying to attack. But before he could even land a hit, the darkness struck back, slamming him into the ground like he was nothing. And then it happened. The darkness multiplied again, taking the shape of the knight's worst fears. This was no ordinary enemy. This was the fear demon, one of the dream devil's kin, and it was here to mess with their minds. You could see the tension in the knights. Everyone fears something, right? Some fear darkness, others fear snakes. And this demon? It took those fears and turned them into reality. That's when Eric turned to Mary. He told her she'd have to lead the charge. Why? Because he knew Mary's fear was spiders, and he figured if the demon conjured spiders, they'd be easier to deal with and kill. Logical, but also terrifying, right? Leal backed him up, telling Mary not to worry because she and the other knights would protect her from the rear. But Mary had to take the first step forward. So, Mary stepped up, trembling but determined. As she moved closer, the fear demon surrounded her in a field of darkness. The air felt heavy, like it was suffocating her. And then she saw it, a vision of her sister, Magpie, but as a child. Innocent, vulnerable. The fear demon wasn't going to throw spiders at Mary. No, it was going to force her to face something far worse. Her deepest, most personal fear. Mary froze when she saw her sister, Magpie, as a little kid. The child Magpie looked scared, pointing out how dark it was around them. Mary, overwhelmed by guilt and emotions, rushed to hug her. But then, from behind, the real Magpie shouted at her, trying to snap her out of it. But Mary couldn't hear her. She was caught up in the illusion. She started apologizing to the kid version of Magpie, pouring her heart out, blaming herself for everything that had happened. She believed it was all her fault, that she had been too weak to protect her sister. Then the nightmare took a darker turn. The kid Magpie, missing an arm, looked at Mary and thanked her, not for protecting her, but for giving her the chance to fight back against the demons that had ruined her life. And just like that, the kid Magpie transformed into her devil form. This was Mary's deepest fear laid bare. Her sister losing herself completely and becoming a monster. Leal jumped in to protect Mary and the others, using her ice miracle to create a shield. She was furious, yelling at Eric that his plan was a total failure. He'd been so sure that Mary's biggest fear was spiders, but he was dead wrong. Damon, still in his sword form, calmly explained to Magpie that the fear demon wasn't as powerful as the form it had morphed into. It wasn't actually her devil form they were fighting. It was a reflection of the fear Mary held deep inside. Magpie, fueled by anger and determination, wanted to charge forward and end it. But Maximilian stopped her in her tracks. He reminded her to save her strength, especially since they'd need everything they had to face the dream devil. Then Maximilian stepped up and unleashed his fire miracle. With one devastating move, the Hammer of Judgment, he obliterated the fear demon. The sheer destructive force burned everything in its path, leaving no trace of the demon behind. But as the fear demon faded, it left behind a chilling warning. It told them not to enter the door it had been guarding. And here's the twist. The demon wasn't lying. It claimed it had been protecting them from its master, the dream devil. Why would a demon protect humans, you ask? That's the million-dollar question. But it seems like there's more going on here than meets the eye. Whatever's behind that door is far worse than anything they've faced so far. Maximilian found it absolutely ridiculous that a demon would claim to care about humans. But the fear demon calmly explained that it was created specifically for that purpose. Its master, the dream devil, didn't want humans to perish. Instead, the master wanted humans to cherish their lives, take the opportunities given to them, and keep thriving because the world still needed them. Maximilian wasn't buying any of it. He felt insulted, thinking the demon was mocking them. So, without hesitation, he burned the fear demon to death. Then came the big moment. Maximilian opened the massive door. What they saw next was jaw-dropping. Inside was a colossal tree, but it was badly burned. Not just the tree, the entire surrounding area was scorched, all by the holy flame. Eric stepped forward and explained what had happened. He revealed that the destruction was caused by the Ash Devil. For years, the Knights had been keeping tabs on two devils, the Dream Devil and the Ash Devil. The Dream Devil had stayed hidden for over a decade, but when they finally tracked its territory, they found it burned to the ground by the Ash Devil. Eric continued, explaining that unlike the more passive Dream Devil or Life Devil, the Ash Devil was highly active, leaving destruction wherever it went. Its signature? Complete and utter devastation. Everything reduced to ash. Here's the kicker. The Ash Devil didn't just target humans like other demons. No, its favorite prey was other powerful demons. And now comes the twist. The Ash Devil? It's none other than Magpie herself. But here's the thing. It's Magpie from the future, completely consumed by her devil form. Why has future Magpie returned to the present? Well, she wants to stop herself from fully becoming a devil, and as the events unfold, we'll get more answers. Back to the present, Magpie noticed Cigarette, but scattered on the ground and the burns on the massive tree. It clicked for her. The Ash Devil could wield the holy flame, just like she could, and in the back of her mind, she might have already suspected the truth, that the Ash Devil was her future self. The Order of White confirmed that the Dream Devil had fallen into a deep slumber after its battle with the Ash Devil. Leal and her knights saw this as an opportunity. They believed it was best to secure the weakened Dream Devil as a countermeasure against other powerful devils like the Ash Devil. Leal made her case. If they could harness the Dream Devil's power, it would be a game changer. Maximilian, on the other hand, strongly disagreed. While he acknowledged that the Dream Devil's miracle could grant any wish, he warned that the price to pay wasn't something you got to choose. Countless people had lost their lives to its twisted miracles. Eric argued back, saying this was a rare chance to use such an extraordinary power. But Maximilian held firm. He reminded everyone about Magpie's battle with the Life Devil. That demon must have tried to tempt her with all sorts of vile offers, but she didn't falter. That's what it meant to be a knight, standing strong and defeating demons without compromise. Maximilian then turned to Magpie and asked the big question. What are you going to do? Magpie asked for time to think it through. She realized something important. If the Ash Devil had used the holy flame against the Dream Devil but failed to kill it, that meant the Ash Devil had been the one defeated. This wasn't just any demon they were dealing with. They were underestimating the Dream Devil's power. But before she could decide, chaos erupted. Out of nowhere, one of the knights stabbed Maximilian in the back. It turned out the Dream Devil had influenced the knights, tempting them with the promise of making their dreams come true. And it wasn't just one knight. Every single one of them had fallen under the devil's spell. This is where things stand. Betrayal, chaos, and the shadow of the Dream Devil looming large. The knights, every single one of them, started turning on each other. They were completely consumed by their desires, fighting to make their dreams come true under the Dream Devil's influence. It was chaos, dreams turning into nightmares. Out of nowhere, one of the knights used his wind miracle and lunged straight at Magpie. But before he could land the blow, Mary stepped in, slashing him down to protect her sister. Sounds heroic, right? Except Mary wasn't herself. She was also under the Dream Devil's control. And it didn't stop there. The other knights charged at Mary, but she unleashed her skill Sunset, cutting them all down in one devastating move. Magpie tried desperately to wake her up, shouting her name, but it was no use. Mary was too far gone. Here's where things got even worse. The knights Mary had slashed? They got back up. The Dream Devil was healing their wounds and turning them into immortals, completely under its control. It was like a plague, one knight after another falling victim, spreading chaos in its wake. Magpie knew what this meant. The Dream Devil's power was overwhelming. It could manipulate anyone just by them being in its territory. And as if that wasn't enough, Magpie remembered something terrifying. The Dream Devil was the one who had granted her wish, a miracle that could kill any demon no matter what. Fueled by this memory and determined to end it, Magpie dashed forward. She was ready to kill the Dream Devil right there and then. But there was one massive problem. The other knights stood in her way, blocking her path. She couldn't bring herself to hurt them because if she did, She'd need to transform. And if that happened, her secret, that she was part devil, would be exposed. That's when Maximilian stepped up. He used his miracle to attack the knights, blasting them back. Unlike the others, he hadn't been influenced by the dream devil, and he was still standing strong despite his injury. He even cauterized his wound to stop the bleeding. Maximilian faced the immortal knights head-on, turning to Magpie and saying, "Do what you need to do. I'll hold them off for as long as I can." Damon whispered to Magpie, telling her the dream devil was hiding inside the massive wound in the giant tree. She knew what she had to do. She began fusing with Damon, preparing to make her move. But just as she was about to press forward, Gwendolyn stepped in her way. She, too, had fallen under the dream devil's spell. With a smug look, she declared, "The one who's going to become the hero after defeating the dream devil is me." Eric stood there, deep in thought, realizing how completely trapped they all were. The knights, one after another, had fallen into the clutches of their dreams. They turned on each other, their swords cutting down comrades without hesitation. The exit had vanished. They were stuck in this endless, cursed forest, where the dream devil's nightmare had consumed them entirely. As fear and desperation grew, their minds crumbled, leaving behind nothing but cold, lifeless bodies. Eric knew the nightmare wasn't sparing anyone, not even him. He begged the Dawn Knight to stay strong, to hold on to who she was, and most importantly, to kill the dream devil before it was too late. Now, let's shift to Gwendolyn. She was laser-focused, making it clear that nothing, absolutely nothing, was worse than losing her shot at becoming the hero. Damon explained to Magpie that Gwendolyn's dream was simple but all-consuming. She wanted to slay the dream devil and become the hero of this tale. Magpie, always calculating, assured Damon she wouldn't kill Gwendolyn. She asked him to dull his blade so she could face her without taking her life. Damon, understanding the situation, transformed himself into a massive, blunt weapon. Why? Because he knew exactly what Gwendolyn's miracle was. Magpie charged at Gwendolyn with Damon as her weapon, ready to strike. But as soon as she made contact, the blade shattered into pieces. That's when Magpie realized something terrifying. Gwendolyn possessed the invincibility miracle. Here's the deal with that miracle. Its power depends entirely on its owner's willpower. And Gwendolyn? She was a knight who had spent her entire life training, sacrificing, and dreaming of becoming a hero. Her spirit was unbreakable, and now, with her mind completely overtaken by her dream, she was untouchable. Gwendolyn countered Magpie's attack with a devastating punch that shattered her face. Literally. But Magpie, being part devil, regenerated instantly, her face restoring itself right before Gwendolyn's shocked eyes. That's when it hit Gwendolyn. Nobody could have two miracles, which meant only one thing. Magpie was a devil. And now, Gwendolyn knew her secret. Instead of hiding, Magpie revealed her half-devil form. Wings sprouted from her back as she prepared for another attack. But just before she could strike, Damon stopped her. Magpie thought Damon had been possessed by the dream devil too, but nope, he was fine. In fact, Damon had a plan. He reminded Magpie that Gwendolyn once taught him a lesson, and now it was his turn to return the favor. Damon confronted Gwendolyn head-on, while Magpie flew towards the massive tree where the dream devil hid. Gwendolyn, who was secretly in love with Damon, started blushing as he got closer. Damon, ever calm and sharp, told her straight up, "You're not going to be a hero like this." The Lion Knight. He was the pride of the Leonhardt clan and a true hero from a decade ago. As a knight, he stood against countless demons, defeating them one by one and giving humanity hope for a better tomorrow. The people whose lives he saved didn't just survive, they thrived. Many became knights themselves, carrying forward the torch of hope and gifting others the chance to live another day. He was a hero through and through, admired and respected by everyone. But for Gwendolyn, the Lion Knight wasn't just a hero, he was her father. A father whose face and voice were now a blur in her memory. He had given everything, including his life, for his duty as a knight. And when she turned 10, it wasn't a celebration. It was the day of his funeral. Years passed, and Gwendolyn followed in her father's footsteps, becoming a knight herself. When she stood before her clan, they bowed to her, declaring, "This is what we, your loyal servants, desire. It's what your father would have wanted." From that moment, the weight of their expectations crushed down on her. She had been born into the perfect life, a loving family, the finest education, and an incredible miracle. To the Leonhardt clan, it was only natural for her to succeed her father and become the hero they wanted. But to them, Gwendolyn wasn't her own person. She was just the lion cub, destined to continue the legacy. And she believed it. She told herself that no matter what happened, she couldn't let them down. She couldn't afford to fail. So when Damon said, "You can't be a hero like this," it hit a nerve. Gwendolyn's anger flared. She demanded, "What do you mean by that?" Damon stayed calm and explained, "Something you don't truly want can't be your dream." "What is your actual dream, Gwendolyn?" That question stopped her in her tracks. What was her dream? For the first time, she didn't have an answer. But before she could think, the dream devil's influence crept back into her mind, pulling her into its grasp. Trying to shake it off, Gwendolyn turned to Damon and said, "You just turned into a sword, didn't you? That makes you a devil too." Her determination reignited. She decided to fight Damon, no matter what. And as if to meet her resolve, Damon revealed his devil form, ready for the battle. Meanwhile, Magpie was making her way toward the dream devil but was suddenly stopped by her sister, Mary. Still under the dream devil's influence, Mary stood in her path, ready to fight. Magpie knew there was no reasoning with her sister, Mary. The dream devil's influence had her completely under its spell. So, with no other choice, Magpie summoned a sword from her devil arm, preparing for a battle that was both heartbreaking and inevitable. A clash of sisters, teacher versus student. But just as she was about to strike, the dream devil twisted the battlefield even further. Magpie's body reverted to her childhood form, and suddenly, her mind was flooded with a storm of manipulated memories. Real ones and illusions swirled together, leaving her confused and vulnerable. Meanwhile, on the other side of the battlefield, Gwendolyn launched a relentless assault on Damon. Yet, no matter how hard she tried, he didn't fight back. He simply dodged her punches, remaining calm. Damon wasn't interested in fighting her because he could see the truth. Gwendolyn didn't want to fight either. "Stop this ridiculousness," he said, his voice steady. But Gwendolyn shook her head and shouted back, "If I don't do this, I'll betray everyone's expectations. My people, my clan. They're counting on me." Damon didn't waver. "Look around you," he said. "Even the strongest knights, the 12 meridians, are consumed by their dreams. At this rate, we'll all be trapped here forever, reduced to nothing but corpses. Is this what you want? Is this truly your dream?" His words struck a chord. Gwendolyn hesitated, her mind flashing back to a conversation she'd had with her master, Michael. She remembered his voice, calm but firm, asking her, "Are you satisfied with who you are now?" Back then, she'd been taken aback by the question. Michael had always tailored her training to push her limits, yet he seemed concerned. "I'm thankful you're always striving to improve," he told her. "But these past few years, I've realized something. You never leave any time for yourself." She had brushed it off at the time. "That's a luxury heroes can't afford," she'd replied. But Michael hadn't let it go. He gave her a speech that still echoed in her heart. Even a hero is still a person. And a person's strength comes from having something they want to protect. Gwendolyn had told him she already had many things to protect: the innocent, her family's honor. Michael then added one last thing: "Knowing that makes you an excellent knight. But if I may, I want you to protect one more thing: your tomorrow." That memory broke through the dream devil's influence like a ray of sunlight. Gwendolyn's vision cleared, and she realized the truth. This wasn't her dream. Her dream wasn't about meeting others' expectations or carrying an impossible weight. It was about protecting what truly mattered to her. With newfound clarity, Gwendolyn stood tall. The dream devil's grip on her shattered, and she turned to Damon, her resolve burning in her eyes. Damon smiled, seeing her transformation. "Looks like you found it," he said. "Now, let's crush that devil together." Mary wrapped her arms around Magpie in a warm, familiar hug. For a moment, it felt comforting. But then Magpie felt something strange. She could sense her sister's dreams starting to seep into her own mind. Memories began to surface, pulling her back to a time long ago. She was training with Mary, just the two of them, side by side for 3 long years. Despite all that time, Magpie felt stuck, like she hadn't grown any stronger. Frustration welled up in her chest as she looked at her sister, who always seemed so far ahead. Mary had noticed, of course. She came over and grabbed Magpie's hand, turning it over to show her the rough calluses that had formed. "Your hand's not soft like it used to be," Mary said with a small smile. "But that's because you've been pushing yourself," Mary went on, her voice calm but firm. "Pushing so hard that you can't breathe, that your arms feel like they're about to fall off. Blisters, muscle aches, that's all natural when you're working this hard." Magpie had looked up at her sister, feeling a flicker of hope. Mary continued, "You might not see it yet, but if you keep going like this, you'll be as strong as me one day. I know you will." Those words had lit a fire in Magpie back then, and they did the same now. She remembered standing back up after that talk, ready to train harder than ever. This memory wasn't an illusion. It was real. This was who Mary truly was. And with that realization, Magpie snapped out of the dream, breaking free from the dream devil's influence. She opened her eyes, more determined than ever, and conjured her sword. "I'll save you, Mary," she said, her voice steady and full of resolve. But Mary wasn't herself. She moved like lightning, slashing at Magpie with incredible speed. Magpie barely dodged the attack in time, her sister's blade slicing through the air where she just stood. The two clashed in a flurry of blows. With one well-placed strike, Magpie managed to chip away at Mary's sword. It wasn't much, but it was a start. "I'm not giving up on you," Magpie said, her grip on her weapon tightening. As the two sisters clashed, Magpie swung her sword in a wide arc, aiming to land a decisive blow. But Mary was quick. She jumped out of the way, dodging just in time. Without missing a beat, Mary countered with a powerful slash, forcing Magpie to dash backwards to avoid it. But Mary wasn't done. She kept her momentum, following Magpie's every move, and tried to stab her with lightning speed. Again, Magpie narrowly dodged, her heart racing. Mary didn't slow down. Her blade kept swinging like a storm, but Magpie's focus was razor-sharp. She could read every movement, every angle. This time, she thought, she would definitely take her down. But that's when it hit her. Mary wasn't trying to win. Despite everything, despite the dream devil's influence, Mary was holding back. She couldn't bring herself to fully fight her own sister. Mary's blade made contact with Magpie, but the strike didn't leave a mark. It was a warning, a reminder from Mary. She was showing Magpie her own bad habit, underestimating her opponents, even when it's the one person she cares about most. With a calm but serious look, Mary said, "Let's go home. I'll protect you forever." Magpie's heart twisted. "I can't go home with you," she said, voice steady. "You were the one who taught me to find something I want to protect, and I'm not giving up on you." Magpie dashed forward, locking swords with Mary once again. Their blades clashed over and over, the sound ringing through the air. It was a battle of willpower, a fight between love and destiny. And then, something shifted. Mary's eyes fluttered. The influence of the dream devil started to fade, and she began to wake up from her dream. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, with a proud smile, Mary looked at her sister and said, "You've grown, Magpie. You're a great knight now." Together, they unleashed their ultimate skill, Daybreak. A burst of energy lit up the battlefield as they struck at the same time. But it was Magpie who came out on top. Mary's sword shattered, and she fell to the ground, defeated but content. Magpie's heart sank as she looked at her sister, silent on the ground. She thought Mary was gone, killed in their battle. Tears welled up in her eyes. But then Mary burst into laughter. She was playing dead the whole time. Magpie was caught off guard, blushing and feeling so awkward for everything she'd said. It was a mix of relief and embarrassment, but Mary was there, smiling and hugging her, happy to see that her sister was okay. Magpie wiped away her tears, still a little flustered, and started to recount her story. She told Mary how she had obtained the holy flame. The dream devil came to her in a dream, offering the flame. But there was something else, something darker. A few days ago, he had made her dream of Mary dying because of her. The strangest part, though, was how the dream felt wrong. It was like Magpie wasn't herself in that moment. Mary listened intently, her expression serious. She believed the dream devil was trying to warn her, showing her those dreams. It wasn't just a random nightmare. It was a premonition. Mary reminded Magpie that the fear demon had warned them about entering the dream devil's territory. If this was the case, then maybe these dreams were giving Magpie the chance to change the future, to avoid the same fate. With that, they made their way deeper into the giant tree. But something felt off. There were no clear paths. It was like the tree had no end, no way forward. Just then, Damon and Gwendolyn arrived, bringing some much-needed information. Damon informed Magpie that from the outside, the giant tree was being consumed by the holy flame, and for a moment, he thought it was Magpie doing it. But Magpie quickly clarified, it wasn't her. She was sure the Ash Devil was the one behind it. Magpie explained that the Ash Devil was planning to slowly consume the Dream Devil, just like she had done with the Life Devil before. If the Ash Devil succeeded in devouring the Dream Devil using the holy flame, no one would be able to stop it. It would be an unstoppable force. That's why they had to kill the Dream Devil first, before it was too late. But just as they discussed their plan, the ground trembled. The Dream Devil emerged, his original form rising from the earth. He looked directly at Magpie. "Your holy flame can no longer harm me," he declared. Let's rewind a few days back to fully understand why future Magpie has come to the present. The Ash Devil had just woken the Dream Devil from his slumber. Magpie, in her future form, attacked him with her holy flame. But the Dream Devil didn't fight back. Instead, he told her that if she wanted to vent her anger on him, she could. After all, it was his fault that she ended up this way. Future Magpie, though, wasn't having it. She told him not to flatter himself, that she was the one who chose this path, and oddly enough, she was thankful to him for helping her fulfill her dream. The Dream Devil couldn't understand it. Her holy flame was different from the one he had given her. Future Magpie explained that atonement for sins could only be earned in the deepest depths of hell, but by then, there was nothing left after death. She added that suffering endlessly in flames, unable to die, that's the punishment they deserved. Now, we start to understand. Future Magpie had turned completely into a devil. Her holy flame had changed, and now, it wouldn't just devour devils. It would consume the entire world. Why? Because her flame was never satisfied. It always needed more fuel, more firewood, for eternity. That's why she came back to the past, to try and change her miserable future. She came to the Dream Devil, hoping he could help her. Back in the present, Magpie, determined to end this, summoned Damon to transform into her blade. She attacked the Dream Devil with a powerful skill, Sunset, using her holy flame to burn him down. But when her blade made contact, her flame went out instantly. The Dream Devil explained it was because her flame was still too weak, not yet strong enough to surpass the Ash Devil's flame. He went on to explain that the pain from the Ash Devil's holy flame had caused him to lose control of his own miracle. This led to his location being exposed to the Knights. When those with dreams entered his territory, they became consumed by their own dreams, lost all hope, and turned into inhabitants of his twisted world. Then, the Dream Devil made it clear. If Magpie didn't strike a deal with him now, there would be no turning back. He claimed he only wanted to help them. The deal? Simple. Magpie had to make a wish. He would send her back to a point in the past where she could fix everything. Magpie, with determination, asked about the Ash Devil. What kind of devil was she, and what was her relationship with the Dream Devil? The Dream Devil's answer was chilling. The Ash Devil was someone who hated demons the most. Her holy flame was her dream, but she was paying the price in the worst way possible. And the Ash Devil, he added, resented the Dream Devil deeply. At this point, it became clear to us. Magpie was starting to realize that the Ash Devil was, in fact, her future self. Whether she acted oblivious or it was just the course of events in this manhwa, we knew the truth was slowly dawning on her. But the Dream Devil didn't have much time to entertain this conversation. The fire he was in was burning him faster than he realized, and his consciousness was deteriorating. He said the only way out was to go to the past and stop the Ash Devil. By doing that, their present selves would change the future. The Dream Devil then opened a door, a portal to the past, to a point in time where they could make the difference. But just as they were about to step through, four members from the 12 strongest knights approached them. They, too, were influenced by their dreams, and things were about to get even more complicated. Magpie quickly conjured a sword from her flesh and handed it to her sister. But Leal, consumed by her dream to tame the dream demon and use its miracle, warned them to stay out of her way. Mary, unwavering, reminded her sister that as a knight, she had learned that even the smallest things come at a cost. She vowed to stop Leal and the others before they got lost in this eternal dream. Leal wasn't going down without a fight. She used her special move, Cocytus, creating a massive ice prison around them. But Mary, with her lightning speed reflexes, managed to dodge just in time. However, she was still injured. And to make matters worse, Mary now had to face her master, Elizabeth, who wielded a miracle that could cut through dimensions. No matter how well Mary aimed, Elizabeth's abilities made it impossible for her blade to land where it should. She was a swordsman's nightmare. And it wasn't just Elizabeth. Michael, Gwendolyn's master, had a spectrum miracle that could convert light into solid form. Plus, Gwendolyn wasn't in the right state of mind to fight her comrades. That meant her invincibility miracle wouldn't work if she was shaken. Mary quickly reminded Gwendolyn that their goal wasn't to defeat the knights, but to escape this place. Meanwhile, Magpie and Damon were up against Leal and Bellatrix. Damon couldn't help but notice something had changed in Magpie since their separation. She no longer swung her blade recklessly with just brute force. Now, she was calm, observant. She was paying attention to the air, the vibrations, the sounds, and her opponent's movements. A humble prudence had settled over her, making her stronger than ever before. Even Leal noticed the drastic growth Magpie had gone through in just 1 year. Then, just as Magpie was getting her bearings, Bellatrix tried to sneak attack her from behind. But Magpie was ready. She anticipated the strike, lowered her head to dodge, and then spun around to kick Bellatrix back. Bellatrix, consumed by her dream of measuring the distance between herself and a formidable opponent, found herself thrown off balance. With no other choice left, Magpie fused with Damon, unveiling her Devil Slayer form. It was time to turn the tide. Bellatrix and Leal were completely taken aback when they saw Magpie revealing her Devil Slayer form. It was a power none of them had expected. Bellatrix, still reeling from the shock, spun her hammer with deadly intent, ready to strike. But Magpie wasn't fazed. She unleashed her holy flame towards Bellatrix, pushing her back with incredible force. It was the perfect chance, but as Bellatrix was pushed away, Leal got behind Magpie and activated her ultimate move, Styx the Unbreakable Oath. Leal explained how Cocytus, the demon prison, had been invincible ever since she became the Grand Master of the Order of White. No demon had ever managed to escape it. However, Magpie, her power now fueled by her holy flame, managed to break through the ice prison, leaving Leal stunned. Magpie, standing tall in her Devil Slayer form, confidently declared, "Those who surpass all miracles and common knowledge, the devils, that's what I am." Her transformation was complete, and she was ready for anything. Meanwhile, Mary was still locked in a fierce battle with her master, Elizabeth, who could cut through dimensions. Mary was struggling but managed to keep up her momentum, dodging attack after attack. Elizabeth was surprised by Mary's resilience, especially since she was raising a demon, Magpie. But Mary had no excuses. She boldly declared that no matter Magpie's true identity, she would always be her little sister. Elizabeth, as a master, wanted to teach her student a hard lesson, to make her take responsibility for her actions. On the other side, Gwendolyn was struggling against her own master, Michael, who could create any form with light. She was also having trouble activating her invincibility miracle since it required an unbendable spirit. Michael, wanting a world free from demons, hoped that his student would live a life of peace, free from the need for heroes. But Gwendolyn wasn't backing down. She dashed forward, determined to wake her master from his dream. Michael, not willing to let her get close, activated his powerful skill, Dai's IRA, Day of Wrath, unleashing a barrage of deadly light projectiles toward her. Gwendolyn, however, kept pushing forward. She knew her invincibility miracle would protect her. Just as the light projectiles were about to hit, Magpie's holy flame came to her aid, dispelling Michael's skill and shielding Gwendolyn. Magpie called out to Gwendolyn, thanking her for holding out and calling her a hero. Mary was struggling to hold herself together against her master. Elizabeth's overwhelming power was pushing her to the edge, and Mary could barely keep her consciousness intact. With Magpie dominating the battlefield, Elizabeth decided to take action. She used her Dimension Miracle, summoning the other Meridians to join the fight. But as expected, these knights were consumed by their own dreams, just like the rest. One of the Meridians launched a massive stream of fire from his mouth, but Gwendolyn quickly blocked it, giving Magpie the opening she needed to strike. Magpie unleashed her holy flame, burning them with its intense power. However, even with the flames consuming them, the knights stood up again. In this dream territory, they were effectively immortals. Then, one of the knights lunged at Magpie, slashing her with deadly precision. Ruta, using her silver miracle, launched silver projectiles at Magpie. Magpie didn't dodge. She knew she could heal her wounds. But one of the projectiles managed to pierce her, sending her crashing to the ground. As the knight raised his weapon for a devastating blow, it seemed like it would be the end for Magpie. That's when Damon stepped in. With incredible speed, he sliced through the knight's hand, saving Magpie just in time. He told her to go, that he would buy her enough time to get through the door. As if things weren't tough enough for Magpie, it wasn't just the Meridians after her. Their followers charged in too, intensifying the chaos. Damon wasn't going to back down though. He used his powerful skill, Daybreak, injuring them all, but he knew they wouldn't die. They would keep coming, relentless, like an army with no end. Damon explained there was no time to waste. If Magpie kept fighting, she'd be forced to use her metamorphosis, which would burn through her lifespan in seconds. He made it clear that only Magpie could change the past. She was the knight who could kill demons, and now was her moment. While Damon fought, Magpie couldn't help but remember everything they'd been through together. She didn't want to leave him behind. Just as she was lost in those thoughts, a knight fired a bolt of lightning toward her. But Gwendolyn was right there, blocking it just in time. She told Magpie they had to move. If they didn't, Damon's sacrifice would be for nothing. Magpie stood at the door, looking back at Damon one last time. She told him this wasn't goodbye forever. She would come back, and when she did, they'd go get some ice cream together. Damon, standing firm, blocked every knight who tried to approach. But one of the Meridians lunged at Magpie, and just when it seemed like there was no hope, Mary stepped in. She slashed the Meridian, stopping him in his tracks. Mary decided to stay with Damon. She couldn't risk them overwhelming him. She knew if she followed Magpie, they'd just chase her down again. Mary had to make sure the doors stayed open for Magpie to travel to the past. As the door began to close, Mary gave her sister a final, heartfelt message. She told her that she was the best knight of this generation, the one who had saved them all. And above all, she was proud to call her little sister. With those words, Magpie and Gwendolyn traveled back to the past, leaving Damon and Mary to face the Meridians and their knights in a fierce battle of endurance. Magpie and Gwendolyn had traveled back to the most critical point in time to stop the future they'd seen unfolding. The first thing Magpie did was search for her sister, Mary. But things were different in this timeline. Mary wasn't yet a knight. In fact, she wasn't even aware of the fight they were in. She was just a student, living a normal life. Magpie explained some of the situation, but Mary had no clue what she was talking about. She simply told Magpie she wasn't the knight she was looking for, just a cadet at the academy. Before Magpie left, Mary wished for her to find her sister soon. Magpie returned to Gwendolyn and explained that Mary had no memories of her. She was still just a student, not the knight Magpie knew. They had to be careful, though. The versions of themselves from 10 years ago were still out there, and if they encountered each other, things could get messy. They needed to hide their identities and act like they were strangers. When Gwendolyn asked if Magpie had a plan, Magpie outlined the steps. First, they needed to keep the Ash Devil away from the Dream Devil. Second, they had to rescue Mary, Damon, and the Knights from their dreams. Third, if possible, they needed to return to their original timeline. Magpie knew it was all connected to the Dream Devil. She was determined to find him first, and this time, she wasn't just going to confront him, she was going to kill him. She thought about her sister and how she wanted to protect her from becoming a knight. She didn't want Mary to face the same future that had consumed her. Magpie also didn't want Damon to ever know her, to keep him out of danger. But Gwendolyn wasn't having it. She called Magpie selfish. Gwendolyn pointed out that Damon had told her Magpie helped him become more than just a demon. She reminded Magpie how much she meant to both Damon and Mary. They needed her. Gwendolyn urged Magpie not to make decisions based only on what she thought was best, but to consider the impact it would have on others. With Gwendolyn's words ringing in her ears, Magpie realized that maybe she couldn't just rewrite everything for her own peace of mind. Together, Magpie and Gwendolyn set out to change the future. Back in the present timeline, things were grim. Mary and Damon were exhausted, beaten, and still fighting. They were battling the Meridians and their knights, never giving up, because they knew Magpie and Gwendolyn were their hope. For Damon, fighting wasn't just something he did. It was who he was. A demon born from the thrill of battle, a demon who had never been defeated. But the first time Damon was brought to his knees wasn't by demons or devils, it was by humans. Humans who fight not for power, but for something bigger. To protect the ones they love, to return to their normal lives, to preserve their future. And Magpie? She never stopped fighting either. She fought to protect the life she wanted to return to. She fought for the people she cared about. And with that, my friends, our story comes to a close.